All right, there we go. Okay, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to MLS, a law show. My name is David Helm. I am a licensed practicing attorney in the state of Michigan. And with me, I like this crew. I like this crew. Wait, there we go. These two right here. We got Jamie and Baker. They're going to critique my skills today because we are covering MLS Goes to Court. For those who are new and haven't seen the first part, there is a playlist of some of my stuff going to court. I probably should organize that a little better. But what? Jamie jumped off. She can't hear anything. She'll be back. It was just working fine. I don't know what happened. But anyways, this is a civil case. Someone asked in the chat whether or not this is a civil case. This is a civil case. This is not a criminal. I do have a criminal case that I'll be covering once I get client approval. It was an acquittal, so I imagine they should be cool with it. But right now, this is a civil case. I'd like to get client approval, although I don't really think I need it ahead of time. But anyways, that's what I'm going to do. But welcome, everybody. Welcome, Baker. How are you?
I am fine. I just when you texted me, you woke me up because I fell asleep on my sunbed. So I was laying out. We have a really nice weather today, so it's. Thank you for waking me up, or I would be smelling like bacon.
I just when you say sunbed, I think of a cat just lying in a sunbeam, and that's what I imagine you doing.
Well, I'm flexible like a cat, and nimble
How
and
goes your
no.
trial, by the way? You've been covering
Oh,
that.
the first 2 days were the Blue Ridge Hair Club uh, talking about how they could feel that the victim was afraid of her husband. She never said anything, she never did anything, but she was so afraid of him. And then we had a long expert testimony about how voice over IP works, and that was boring. And then we saw the police interview. That was boring as well. I really think the state is lacking something to pull you over reasonable doubt. And yesterday we had the walkthrough, with a lot of
Oh, I did see
reenactment.
that.
Yeah, and I begin to feel that could hurt him with the jury, not because they didn't prove anything, but you know how it is. If you feel he's dishonest, and he was just, I don't know if he's on opioids or whatever he is, but he seemed out of it, and he was rambling a lot and going up and down on the floor, and it was just weird. And I believe in the afternoon yesterday they had. Oh, how was it? What did you watch in the afternoon yesterday?
I was gone for a bit because I had an appointment, but it
Yeah,
was
that
What
was.
did it
911
match?
call.
Yeah, it's the 911 operator who they were talking about. If because as you know, it took too long, or it didn't take long enough to call the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, either you called too quickly, or you didn't call, or you weren't frantic enough, or you took too long, and it's all these uh whatever body language. Oh, I can interpret the meaning behind this, whatever
Yeah,
stuff.
he's breathing really heavy and fast, and kind of sounds like someone trying to mimic a panic attack. And
And this was the idea was is that there someone broke in and shot the wife,
someone was
correct?
in the house, shot his wife, and he stumbles into the house, sees the wife down, sees a shadow, goes to the room, gets his, I believe it's a 9 mil, and starts blasting when as he passes him. And they didn't really, yeah, we're talking about Groany McGroney's son. Um, he groaned a lot. It sounded kind of like a bad German movie from the 70s. But as he runs past him, he starts firing, and the evidence doesn't really add up. But again, high stress situation. When did he shoot the first shot? Did he shoot him here, 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 here? But I think the walkthrough video could make him seem disingenuous to the jury. That was my feeling after watching that.
Hmm. Well, it's an interesting story. What's funny is that they didn't believe an intruder went into the house and killed one person and left another person alive for Jodi Arias. They don't believe it for this, yet they believe it with the Idaho murder case. So it's
It's
just interesting, right?
always it's kind of like we found our theory. Let's just prove our theory.
Yeah,
Not like
that's what.
we found a lot of evidence. What could they suggest?
I mean, but they have to prove that he was in cahoots with this guy, you know?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
whole thing,
Are there text communications? Are there emails? Are there anything like that?
which they haven't even like said
And
anything about that. So we'll
Do you
see.
understand this language? I don't know what this is.
No.
400.
some private bank. It's probably a scam.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't know. Read at your own risk. We'll say that.
Yeah, private bank of Taiwan. Something with the government in Taipei.
Ooh. Check it
Yeah,
out.
they want to redistribute $400 million.
Because if there's anyone to trust, it's a bank from China.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. Oatmeal says wanted to be a lawyer but bombed the LSATs. I did not do that well in the LSATs, but I was able to get into a school that said we're going to take in low LSAT numbers, with the idea that once you get in, you have to actually perform, as opposed to a lot of other law schools that are like once you get in, you kind of graduate. It's just a matter of what ranking you're at. So you can kind of flunk out of this particular law school that I went to, which I like that idea. Everyone gets an opportunity to spend tens of thousands of dollars their first year, and then might not make it. So you risk a lot, but at least you had the opportunity.
I think it's kind of like you can be a great lawyer and a really shitty student, or you can be a great student, a really shitty lawyer. So sometimes roll the dice and take in the guy with the work experience like you, who maybe can bring in some perspective, because or else you just have university people talking to other university people, and they don't know how the real world works. You know
Right.
how to make an argument because the lumber you bought wasn't provided in the correct size or quality. You know what to look for. They wouldn't know anything about lumber. They would just say, well, they had an agreement.
Yeah, you don't want an academic necessarily representing you. You want someone with experience, and that's why in contrary to many people's understanding, like if you're going to become a doctor, you go to like pre-med. You want to be really good in biology and those things. There's no such thing for law, and in fact, it's kind of the opposite. You want a diverse background for lawyers. Like you want a lawyer that had a background in construction and furniture, whatever. You want another lawyer that has a background in HR. You want another, lawyer that has a background in politics. You want another lawyer that has a background in retail, right? Because you could specialize in those fields, and it's helpful to have that kind of underlying knowledge. So you don't want someone that I got A's on all my political science stuff, and my undergrad was law. You don't want somebody like that. They're an academic. They don't know really how to
Well, you wondered if that's the job. Someone like Kurt, who has this kind of autistic brain, who remembers all the details and can read all the complicated stuff. You really want him on a high case where you really have to read mountains of stuff and have to figure out what's important and what's not important. This trial where you have to argue about the ownership of a web page, you might need someone who don't fly too high and don't use all the fancy language. You have and in this case, because you're a small law firm, you need some people skills. If you're in a big office and you just handle banking law, you could be a student type who just can't talk to other people. And as we always said, you can't read to be a baker because you can't feel stuff. And it's the same with the law, because some kind of cases you have to feel your way through them, feel the jury.
Then that's actually a good segue into where we are
website, or at least register.
I didn't mean to play that right away, but where we are right now. This is, by the way, so this is a civil case. The case is regarding the ownership of a domain name. I represent a company who's owned by the two ladies behind me. and they claim that the domain name for a website is owned by the company. The gentleman who sold them the company is the bald-headed gentleman at the other table, who claims that he owns the domain name. Who's on the stand right now is kind of an academic, a law professor, but also a law professor that teaches business organizations and business structures and acquisitions and all this stuff, but then also practices it too. I thought I had an image of him up, but I didn't. So that's why I was going to pull it up just so I could show his face. But where we are in the case is I'm finishing my direct examination of him, and what he's essentially arguing is that you don't title a domain name. It's personal property. It's digital. It's not even actually something physical. You don't title it like a vehicle or anything. It comes off of how you use it, and that's the experience that you need when you're litigating these kind of things. Is you need to know that the usage of the domain name or this property asset is the key to turn on this sort of issue. And I don't know that. I'm not a business lawyer in general. I don't do a lot of transactional stuff. I'm not an IT lawyer, but he is, and so that's why you call him to the stand. He's also the one that negotiated the purchase agreement for the company. So this is the one that you won. I don't know yet, actually. Been there, done that. The judge has yet to issue an opinion, even though this was in April. This is a bench trial too, by the way, so there is no jury. The judge is making the decision, and the judge is still out on that decision. So yeah, but that's what we're gonna watch. And I guess we could get it going. Let's see here. Last time we had opening statements, we had some preliminary stuff. But the crux of the issue that's being presented forward is who owns the domain name? Did the company own it at the time of the transaction? Was it an actual asset of the company when the stock sale took place, or was it the owner of the defendant? Or did the defendant own it personally? And then what are the damages? Because he had shut down the website a couple of times since the acquisition of the company. And so what are the damages associated with that? The court already found that he unlawfully shut down the website. So the question is damages. So that's what's left in this particular case going forward. And before you start, please let us know. Are you close enough to the microphone for us to hear you? Yes, I am. Actually, the sound on this is really good.
Oh, yeah. In the courtroom, yeah.
In the courtroom, yeah. Hey, Money G. Hello. You have yet to send me an email so we can get you into Discord because you want to participate. Oh, as another housekeeping thing before we get going, Hunt a Killer.
Yay.
We're going to be doing Hunt a Killer starting very shortly. I just got to figure it out. I'm thinking like a Sunday afternoon might be a good time to do it. Next Sunday, I think, might be the best to start this. And if you're not familiar, you act as a personal investigator to help solve a murder, and you get a bunch of actual physical clues and notes, and we need to go through it all. There's maps. This one takes place in Mardi Gras. A woman has been murdered, so there's a bunch of beads, and there's a bunch of other stuff. Anyways, what I'm going to do is put all the information in Discord and then release it when we start going through it. And I thought next Sunday afternoon would be good to start doing that. That'll be a lot of fun. If you guys don't know what Hunt a Killer is, I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I started doing it during the vid lockdowns with my wife, and it was a lot of fun. So order your kits. Yeah. I'm going to make the information available. There's also some videos and stuff online. So I've captured those so I can put them in the Discord as well. And we're going to all be able to do it at the same time. Nope, this is courtroom camera, actually, Josie. I didn't have my cameras at the time, and but I figured at the very least I will, if the courtroom camera and audio was good, we'd do it, and it was, so we are. You do not have to buy something except for a membership, which you already have. So you get access to the Discord. This is going to be a little member perk, a little game we're going to play with all the members. There's 6 boxes of per story until you find the murderer. You got to go through 6 boxes. So we'll start the first one on Sunday, and we'll see how it goes from there. I don't know if we're going to be able to do 1 box per day or whatever. It just depends on how fast we puzzle through this, because you actually have to solve it. So, all right. I guess we'll just start with the video. And where we are right now, I'm just finishing up direct on my first witness, who is our expert and also the one that drafted the purchase agreement. So,
The domain name around the same time.
let me know if you guys can hear it
domain
okay.
name being used in relationship to the company.
Yeah, I would expect that if an asset was acquired for a company, especially a critical asset, and there wasn't any sort of payments being made to an owner or a non-owner, that it was used exclusively in the business and consistently in the business, that would be a business asset.
I said April. This was May. I got to change my
You,
caption.
so when we're looking at whether or not an asset is owned by a business, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but a truck can be titled, right?
Correct, yeah. In Michigan, we
I think I backed it up to the point where I used the what if anything.
Oh.
vehicles.
Okay, but say things like tools can't be titled necessarily, right?
That's right, that's personality, and control normally determines how personal property is owned. That's where people say, ownership is 9/10 of the law. Well, of course, for real estate, possession. Possession is 9/10 of the law. For real estate, possession isn't 9/10 of the law. It's the deed. But in personal property, who controls it would be the owner of it.
Okay. And in your transactions, in your dealings with this case, did you see any documentation that would lead you to believe that the domain name was owned by Mr. Petterfee directly?
No, I saw nothing along those lines. Again, that would be a very significant red flag when we were negotiating the transaction.
And if that had come up in the negotiations, what, if anything, would you have done?
Would have insisted that that
What
be
if it-
transferred at the time.
Okay, but was that appropriate? See, I was doing a banner and I missed it. But was that an appropriate use of what if anything, right?
Yeah,
I feel like it was.
it was, but now
Baker's
I'm
muted, but that's
tainted
okay. We
by
don't
it.
need to hear from him.
Yeah, I'm tainted by it now.
I was just saying you could use it there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on. First witness. Okay, I'm just going to put this down. Direct on plaintiff's first witness, just so we have it right now. All right. What if anything? I know, but was it appropriate? What if anything?
I feel like everybody feels the same I do. It's just a tainted phrase now.
Yeah, I'll finish up this banner.
Of closing or immediately thereafter.
You would have accounted for it in the documents of some sort?
If the transfer couldn't be accomplished before closing, then yes, that would be the kind of red flag that would bring an asset being listed into an otherwise equity deal.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Helm. All right. Mr.
Oh, that's
Pettit,
where I
you
left it up.
Cross for our witness? I do. Thank you.
That's the other bad guy.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You testified that you drafted the initial version of the membership interest purchase agreement and release. Is that correct?
I believe I did, yes.
Did you also draft the final version of it?
Well, the document was negotiated back and forth, and
Ooh, do we have? Oh, look at that. Josie gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. And thank you for pointing it out, Jamie. Oh, she just disappeared. Christine, Dave Umber, Text Jen. Really, guys, you are not members already. Danielle was gifted a membership. Roseman Ranch was gifted a membership. I feel like you guys are all back again. What did you do, Jamie?
I just keep hitting buttons. I'm sorry.
It's like, oh, I guess she's gone. I feel like, yeah, you were all re-gifted members, and you've been here before. But thank you.
Yeah, I thought all these people were members.
I literally almost just hit end broadcast. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just hitting random buttons now, apparently, as well. But thank you very much, Josie, for the gifted membership. And if you are new, check out the Discord link on the membership tab. And next Sunday, not this coming Sunday, but the following, we're going to start the Hunt a Killer game, which is going to be awesome. There's more explanation in Discord as well.
Mhm.
Various input was given by Richard Sabo, which was incorporated into the document. Whether he typed that into
Yeah,
the document himself and then
Rosie,
sent me
you
the
missed
document, or sent me an email that said,
You missed his opening, or his foundational stuff. He's I don't know. I find him credible.
He's very credible.
we need to change this, we need to alter that. I don't recall, but there was back and forth on several occasions in order to get to a final document.
Do you recall what back and forth terms were negotiated between you and Mr. Szabo?
No, they seem to be pretty typical sort of terms.
Yeah, so let me set the stage. So Mr. Szabo is a partner of the company, or some sort of owner. He may have some sort of ownership interest, but essentially he's corporate counsel that was negotiating the purchase deal. So again, the backstory is these two women sitting next to me worked for the company that we're alleging is owned by the bald gentleman at the other table, and they wanted to purchase it. It's a stock sale. So the company stays as it is. It's just, who has control of it. And the control passed from the gentleman on the right to the ladies on the left. And Mr. Szabo apparently had some sort of ownership. It's not really clear, but he was the attorney negotiating the sale.
Such as what?
Indemnification provisions wouldn't be unusual in this sort of situation to discuss. Date of transfer, that sort of thing, because we were clearly backdating the document. The previous owners wanted to make sure that there were not going to be tax consequences to them, that the new owners were going to deal with those tax consequences, so there would have been back and forth on those kind of tax provisions.
How many hours did you spend on negotiating this transfer of membership interest, purchase agreement, and release?
I'm not sure. It would be probably tens of hours,
Okay.
10, 15, 20, somewhere in that realm.
And if this agreement was entered into, it says May 7th of 2021, when would you first have been hired to perform this work?
I'm sorry, what was the date again?
May 7th, 2021?
It was probably then early April.
Okay. Did you have any discussions with the now principals of Epic Title Services LLC regarding prior negotiations before you got involved?
They would have informed me of what the status of the deal was and what conversations they had so that I could do the initial draft, right? I didn't just guess. They would have provided me with the outlines of the deal and I would have drafted accordingly.
So if there's an email from them dated April 21st of 2021 that sets forth some terms to the then current owners of Epic Title Services LLC, such as we'll assume the tax liability for 2020 and 2021 and we'll pay you $75,000. Do you recall any of those type of things being involved initially when you became involved in the transaction?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall what the ultimate price of the sale of the business was?
$50,000.
Okay. Do you have the document in front of you?
I do not.
Okay. Do you know what yours was? Or the exhibit was?
The exhibit, judge has the exhibit.
Oh,
You want
yeah.
me to-
If you let him look at it.
Of course, that's where Salvador goes.
Oh, I'd read
And,
that.
and did you draft the first paragraph there?
This membership interest purchase agreement?
Yes.
I would have drafted it, but all of this would have been subject to negotiation. It's not unusual for me to send out a draft that has blanks in it to be filled in by opposing counsel in order to get the information right.
Okay. And you don't know if you drafted this final document or not?
Well, again, I guess I don't understand with what you mean by drafted. I controlled the document, certainly. I was the one that would have provided the final version for people to review. But, I didn't draft the whole thing. Richard Sabo had significant input into this document, as he did with the other ones.
Okay.
This is my clients, by the way. So I don't think Salvador's wrong in asking. That's them taking a selfie in court, by the way, because they thought that was appropriate.
I just ask because normally on such as deeds and other things like that, you see drafted by and you see somebody's name and their address and everything, and there's nothing on this document. Is there a reason why that's the case?
Well, certainly, in these sorts of documents, that's almost never the case.
Okay.
Deeds, the state statute requires that the person who, it uses the word drafted, but is basically responsible for the deed, is the one that has to be on it. In fact, if you take a look at some other states, like Florida, that considers the preparation of deeds to be the unauthorized practice of law, if you're a Michigan attorney and you put your name on a deed for Florida property, you're going to get a call from the Bar of Florida. Other states don't consider that to be the case, but outside of deeds, I can't think of transactional documents that have a drafted by and a name. Banking documents certainly don't normally have that. UCC filings would, so I guess those types of governmental filings have that sort of indicator. But this was a negotiated document between Richard Sabo representing the sellers, the releasing parties, the other side, and my clients being represented by me.
Who are the sellers as listed on that document?
Well, again, because the tax filings indicated that there was only a single member in the LLC, the seller is listed as Christie, who was that single owner as listed with the Internal Revenue Service. Tax was a big driver in this sale, and so we wanted to line up with what representations had been made by the owners of the company to the service.
Did you review any documents that listed capital contributions to the LLC?
I don't believe I did.
And the capital contributions would be one indicator to show who the members are, is that correct?
That would be an indicator to show ownership, absolutely.
Who would,
What the defense is trying to argue is that because the defendant himself wasn't a named owner, then somehow that's relevant to whether or not the domain name was owned by the company. So he's claiming that he registered the domain name and used it, or I essentially loaned it to the company somehow, but he wasn't actually an owner, which really doesn't line up with normal business practices. But that's what he's trying to claim, is that he's not an owner because he's not listed as a seller.
And you told us he paid for it up till the transfer, and then they paid for it, if I remember right.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, well, actually, so he registered the domain name through GoDaddy. The domain name was paid for. We don't really know who paid for it, actually, but it was registered in his name. But it was registered like 2 days either before or after the company was actually formed with the state of Michigan. The articles of organization were filed. I think it was just before. And then it's only been used for the business. And we're not sure who paid for it. The hosting of the website was paid for by the company entirely. He never paid for it personally. No one ever paid for it personally. The hosting of the website. And then, but he's trying to claim that he wasn't an owner. And so, because his name isn't listed as seller of any sort of membership shares in this document, which we went over quite a bit in the first part of this trial, and I think he's going to get into it again.
Yeah, and if I can just explain to Søren, it's about money, because he want to keep back the website so he can get more money out of the buyers.
Yeah, Twisted. It might be a little biased. Just take that into account. Yes, please. Yes, it's all about money. Well, it's not only about money. Imagine this. You buy Amazon, right? But you don't get the domain name Amazon.com. What good is the company? So although this is a title company, they do all of their business through their website. So their email addresses, everything is done through this website. And that's sort of the issue, right? They need the website in order to maintain business. Otherwise, what was the purpose of buying the company? They could have just started a new one with a new name, right? So that's the idea.
Who was the organizer of this
Jessica,
LLC?
welcome.
I believe it was either Christie or Richard that was listed on the state website. I'd have to go back and check.
If I said it was Christie, would you
That wouldn't
agree
surprise
that,
me.
right? All right. Have you seen any documents that have Darren Petterfee listed as an organizer or a member?
No, but again, there weren't a large number of documents. Things were pretty informal.
Okay. So whose job would that be to make sure that the due diligence was done as to who the owners were of the company or who the members were, because we're talking about LLC? Would that be your job? Would it be Ms. Lusby and Ms. Leonardo's?
Miss
Who
Lesbian?
would be tasked with making sure, hey, we got to list the right owner?
Lusby, not lesby. Lusby.
Okay.
Lusby.
You, Sal. You still have a chance.
The right owners on here as seller.
I'm gonna
Well,
object, Judge, assumes facts, not evidence. He's making the argument that who would have been responsible, but I don't know that there is any responsibility. So I believe maybe some more foundation should be laid.
Okay, okay. Do you have a response to that?
I can lay
By the way, that's like the 6th objection I win in a row. Just pointing that out.
Facts, not evidence.
Okay, all right, no rush, guys, plenty of time.
What documents were you given to review prior to drafting this membership interest purchase agreement release, which is Exhibit B?
Boy, I'd have to go back and take a look at the files, which I haven't done, but I would have reviewed whatever documentation was available. And clearly I was very concerned that there were various persons, both individuals and entities, but various legal persons surrounding this company that could assert an ownership interest. And we wanted to make sure that we had everybody's signature on a single document that made sure that the buyers were the owners. So you could spend a lot of time and money trying to pursue the due diligence, or you could insulate yourself by making sure that everybody is
I'll
at the
be right
same
back.
table. And we went the route of insulating ourselves by making sure that everybody was at the same table and not worrying about people pointing fingers about who actually is or isn't an owner.
Sure. Who are the releasing parties on that document?
The releasing parties are indicated as Pecan Ventures LLC, Epic Real Estate Ventures LLC, Darren Petterfee, Christina Cantleberry, and Richard Sabo.
And Christina Cantleberry is listed separately as Christina Cantleberry, and then it says in parentheses and quotes, Cantleberry, end quote, or, quote, seller, end quote. Is that correct?
It is correct. Again, for tax purposes, we wanted to make sure we lined up with the representations that had been made by the owners of the entity to the Internal Revenue Service.
All right. And you have no other documents to show that Mr. Petterfee was indeed a member of that LLC, correct?
I don't know that for certain. I would have to check my files in order to see if there were any documents provided to me. But clearly there was something during the lead up to this transaction that gave me great concern about who the owners were. And conversations were had between Richard Sabo and I indicating how we would deal with that ownership issue.
Okay, and I'd place any objection as to hearsay as to what Mr. Szabo may have not have said. He's not a party to this action.
Well, I certainly told Mr. Sabo that there are problems with ownership and we need to make sure that everybody is a party to this agreement.
Yep.
Judge,
So,
if I would respond to the objection to the hearsay, we're not offering for the truth of the matter. I think it's clearly the effect on the listener at this point who's testifying as to why all those names were placed on there. And I believe the reasons why have been stated numerous times by this witness without objection as to why all these names are placed on there and why they're titled the way they are.
Okay, I have no idea what I'm talking about because I just jumped back in. What was my objection?
Well, he was just asking. I really didn't understand where he was going about what the lady who was named on the contract, Catherine Beerbock something.
Oh, as the seller?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the others are LLCs, but she's the only named one.
Yes. Yeah. So, okay. So I can't remember the subjection. Sorry, I was dealing with my child.
I'm just
But,
gonna, because it sounded like we had some ambulances stopping outside, so I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So I'm not sure exactly what, let's see, response to objection to hearsay. Regarding taxes. I honestly, I could back it. Let me back it up because I want to be able to answer this if I don't know what the question actually
Be
is.
your job? Would it be Ms. Lusby and Ms. Leonardo's? Who would be tasked with making sure, hey, we got to list the right owners, owners on here as seller?
I'm gonna
Well,
object, Judge, assumes facts, not evidence.
Oh, I
He's
already heard
making
this
the
one. Damn it,
argument
I backed
that
up too far.
who would have been
Sorry, guys.
responsible, but I don't know that there is any responsibility. So I believe maybe some more foundation should be laid.
Children asking for money caused me to back up too far.
Response to that?
I can lay some more foundation.
Okay, all right, no rush, guys, plenty of time.
Can I have
What
some-
documents were you given to review prior to drafting this membership interest purchase agreement release, which is Exhibit B?
Boy, I'd have to go back and take a look at the files, which I haven't done, but I would have reviewed whatever documentation was available.
Did the ladies post
And
bail yet? Yes.
Clearly, I
Yes, they
was
did.
very concerned that there were various persons, both individuals and entities, but various legal persons surrounding this company that could assert an ownership interest. And we wanted to make sure that we had everybody's signature on a single document that made sure that the buyers were the owners. So you could spend a lot of time and money trying to pursue the due diligence, or you could insulate yourself by making sure that everybody is at the same table. And we went the route of insulating ourselves by making sure that everybody was at the same table and not worrying about people pointing fingers about who actually is or isn't an owner.
Sure.
Hey,
Who are
Rabbit.
the releasing parties on that document?
The releasing parties are indicated as Pecan Ventures LLC, Epic Real Estate Ventures LLC, Darren Petterfee, Christina Cantleberry, and Richard Sabo.
And Christina Cantleberry is listed separately as Christina Cantleberry, and then it says in parentheses and quotes, Cantleberry, end quote, or, quote, seller, end quote. Is that correct?
It is correct. Again, for tax purposes, we wanted to make sure we lined up with the representations that had been made by the owners of the entity
Thanks,
to the
Maddie.
Internal Revenue Service.
And you have no other documents to show that Mr. Petterfee was indeed a member of that LLC, correct?
I don't know that for certain. I would have to check my files in order to see if there were any documents provided to me. But clearly there was something during the lead up to this transaction that gave me great concern about who the owners were. And conversations were had between Richard Sabo and I indicating how
I
we
would-
would deal with
I
that
would-
ownership issue.
Okay, and I'd place any objection as to hearsay as to what Mr. Zabo may not have said. He's not a party to this action.
Well, I certainly told Mr. Sabo that there are problems with ownership and we need to make sure that everybody is a party to this agreement.
Yep,
Judge,
so,
if I would respond to the objection to the hearsay, we're not offering for the truth of the matter. I think it's clearly the effect on the listener at this point who's testifying as to why all those names were placed on there. And I believe the reasons why have been stated numerous times by this witness without objection as to why all these names are placed on there and why
I
they're
like how
kept
I
away.
don't know what I'm doing there.
We all good to move on?
sure.
Okay, Ms. Rabbit?
If
I
you
don't-
could look on page 3, 2.3,
Yes, thank you.
seller's ownership. You see that?
I do.
Okay. Did you draft that section?
I believe I did.
Okay. And seller is used singular in that, is that correct?
Correct.
Because
That's
the
what they tell
seller is
me.
Christina Cantleberry,
that
according to
makes
this
sense.
document, correct?
According to
You
this
tell me I'm
document,
Italian.
yes.
Okay. And the, Mr. Petterfee is listed as a releasing party on this document, correct?
Correct, because if he had any ownership interests, we want to make sure that he wasn't going to try to assert them later.
Sure. And if the company owes him any money, you're gonna make sure that he can't come back and say, hey, Epic Title, you owe me $20,000 for a loan I made to you. He's releasing any claims he may have against Epic Title Services LLC in this document, correct?
Correct.
He's not stating, hey, I'm an owner, I'm a member of this company, and I'm selling you
Very
my
true.
membership. He's saying, hey, I'm releasing any claims I may have now or in the future or in the past as to Epic Title Services LLC, correct?
That's right, because if he would have said that he is an owner and a seller in this document, it would have been written evidence that they incorrectly told the Internal Revenue Service what the ownership of the entity was.
Was that ever changed with the IRS, that she was a sole member?
Well, certainly after this transaction was done, the ownership of this entity was indicated to the service as now being Heather and Amy.
Right. Prior to this, though, was that ever changed with the IRS?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm not aware of the tax filings that they made other than the ones that indicated that Christina was the sole owner.
There's a difference between a website and a domain name, is that correct? Is that beyond the scope of your? Is that
You're going beyond the scope of my
your-
expertise.
Okay.
When it comes to technology, I'm not too bad, but those subtleties, quite honestly, would escape
Okay,
me.
so you don't know, so that's perfectly
I'm
fine.
just not sure,
No-
yeah.
No problem at all. No problem. In a bench trial with Judge Ferry years ago, he said some of the best answers from that witness stand have been, I don't know.
Well, that's just it, because in a title company like this, I'd be looking at email addresses, website addresses, as far as all the niceties of what happens in the black box. Again, yeah, I don't know.
And other than.
Yeah, it's a good
Exhibit B
technique.
here that you have in your hand.
It's a good technique to keep a pen in your hand to keep yourself occupied until you start clicking it
Mhm.
incessively in front of the microphone, and then you quickly realize that that's a bad thing to have.
Do you know of any other document regarding the sale of plaintiff that's signed by Darren Petterfy?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I don't think I took a lot of notes in this case because this was 2 years coming. I kind of know this case inside and out. So I don't think I took extensive notes. And it's not my case or it is my case in chief, right? So I know what the expert or this particular expert's got to testify to ideally. When it's the other side's turn to call witnesses, I might take a lot more notes.
I would have to check. There were several documents involved in the transaction. I don't know if Richard and I decided that his single signature on this was sufficient, or whether there were others. I'd have to go back and look.
Well, he signed 3 times on this, didn't he? He signed as a releasing party for Pecan Ventures LLC, correct? As manager. He signed for Epic Real Estate Ventures LLC as manager, correct?
Yep.
And then he signed individually.
Exactly.
Okay. And Mr. Szabo signed individually.
He did.
Okay. And besides the breakdown of the payments, and Mr. Szabo was paid $10,000, was to receive $10,000 at the sale. Is that
Yes.
correct? Be fair to say you're not stating he's a member one way or another. He just got paid on the sale.
I am
right?
stating that I had significant concerns that all of these releasing parties were owners, and rather than trying to do the heavy lifting of cleanup, we wanted them all on the same document.
Sure.
Thank you, Iris, for the 5 gifted memberships. Maddie Graham, Dirk, Rabbit, Jody, and Holly Moore all received gifted memberships. I think all of you are returning, except for maybe Maddie. But maybe Maddie's returning as well. What were you saying, Jimmy?
I said I think they're all like just returning members.
Yeah, they all are just
No?
returning members.
'Cause you like
Yeah,
have-
it's good. I like returning members.
yeah.
Thank you.
So, Son, turn on your gifted memberships. You
Yeah.
never get anything.
Or just buy a
Not
membership.
in the Discord, buddy. Come on.
Yeah. You need to get in the Discord. Yes, the
Yeah.
Discord is amazing. If you are a member, you get access to the Discord, and it's all kinds of deplorable, plus nudes of Jody areas and cookie recipes. So it's got something for everyone.
There really is.
But the only member that you know of in the sale was Christina Candleberry, correct?
No, the only member I know that was reported to the Internal Revenue Service was Christina Canterbury. If I thought that Christina Canterbury was the sole owner, I wouldn't need those other releasing parties.
When you were talking about, well, do you know of any documents from Lara that state otherwise?
I do not know of any documents from Laura specifically, but
It's not Lara, it's Laura, and it is the state's registry for business entities, or and a lot of other stuff. But what it also has is registration documents for corporations.
ownership isn't reported to the Michigan authorities at this point.
And you represented Ms. Leonardo and Ms. Lusby. in
Junk
this
cracking
transaction,
down.
correct?
Correct.
Well, it feels like it's renewing them or something because a lot of these people actually I've seen them still a member before the renewal the memberships got put out today. So I don't know. Weird.
Yeah, right. And this is like the time of the month when everyone either is lapsing or getting renewed memberships or renewing. So it should be changing over like right about now because it was about this time when I became monetized and people started getting memberships in the month. So it's always like the third week of the month kind of thing is when
Yeah.
memberships start expiring. And so yeah, Jung goes through and we review the membership list and all that. Where is this trial? This trial is actually 5 minutes from Jimmy's home. This is in Flint, Michigan.
So she'd never been there.
So she's
No,
never
I-
been there. She's never left her driveway, but this is 5 minutes from
fun.
Jimmy's home in Flint, Michigan. This is my case. If you guys are coming in late, behind the gentleman standing at the lectern is me with my two lady clients, and he represents the bald gentleman at the right. And this is from May of 2023. The idea is I want to show you guys, we have all these sensational, highly publicized cases, and I wanted to show you a normal, kind of simple civil case, what it looks like. So fire off with
When
your questions if
you
you have them.
use the example of assets versus equity sale, and you said in an equity sale, the LLC continues, or the
Yes,
entity
in my yellow
continues
tie.
to exist after the sale, is that what you said? Did I get that right? It's so
The entity remains
continue-
unchanged,
Okay, but the,
and that's in an equity sale. In an equity sale, the entity remains unchanged. In an asset sale, the entity gets rid of all of its assets in exchange for cash, and then it needs to do something with that cash. It either distributes that cash out to its members, or it engages in a new line of business. But that's a significant change. So in an asset deal, you have a big change in the entity and what it does and how it operates. In an equity sale, the business as a going concern is able to simply continue with all of the same rights, obligations, liabilities, and assets that it had before the sale.
except for, people may change, correct?
They may change, the owners may hire people, fire people, do different things.
And they did that in this case, Mr. Petterfy no longer worked there, correct?
Twisted, you assume way too much of me. I do not know his name. I could look it up, but I do not know his name offhand.
I didn't know that Mr. Pettifee was an employee of Epic Title.
Okay.
He's brother
But you
counsel.
don't know if he's an owner or not.
I was concerned that he would be, which is why I wanted his name on this agreement.
You were concerned, but you have no evidence that he was an owner or a member of the company, correct?
I'd have to check the file.
You don't have anything sitting here today at the time of trial that would say he's an owner, correct?
Objection asked and answered numerous times.
Well, Your Honor, I'm hearing, I would have to check the file.
Is that condescending?
It was just kind of like, objection.
Yeah, he's asked him like 12 times now, right? The same
Uh-huh.
question.
It
I'm
makes me
asking
laugh.
him, here he's here today. Does he have anything to show that?
Last word, Mr. Helm?
He can answer again, but he's asked, I think, 3 times, but I just wanted to kind
Yeah.
of move on.
Okay.
Third time's the charm.
Okay. Mr.
Oh,
if you
Dave.
have- if you can ask it one more time and then we'll move on.
That's like
Sitting here
objection number
today,
7.
sir,
When
do you have any documents showing Mr. Petterfy was an owner or a member of Epic Title Services LLC?
Sitting here today, I don't have any documents except for the membership interest purchase agreement and release. The release component of this membership interest purchase agreement is unusual. It's one of those red flags. It's the dog that didn't bark. The reason why I would have those releasing parties is because those individuals seem to have ownership interests. And what I am basing that supposition on is how this document was drafted. I may have other documents in other places that reflect that ownership and those concerns, but counsel, you're correct. As I sit here today, I do not.
Thank you. And if the testimony came in that Mr. Petterfy's payment was for money loaned to the LLC, that's the reason for his $20,000, would you have any information one way or another on that?
I did not see anything that would make me indicate that Mr.
Hey, Sarah.
Pettifee had an outstanding debt to the entity.
And you wouldn't necessarily think that you would, correct?
Correct?
And this releasing document, if he was owed money by the company, releases the company from any claims he has of money. That's what the releasing document is, correct?
It would also accomplish that task, yes.
I have no further questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
All right, I think we have maybe some redirect.
Any redirect for your witness? Mr.
Yes,
Allen?
a couple.
See, now I'm more self-conscious because I have a bigger audience than when I first started streaming this.
Just a few follow-up questions for you. You've registered corporations, correct?
I formed, or incorporated corporations and formed limited liability companies and limited liability partnerships and partnerships. I have worked with just about every entity that there is.
You're familiar with the appearance of the LARA website with regard to documents such as articles of organizations that's filed with the state?
Very familiar.
I'm handing you, it has been marked, but is that indicative of what you would find with a articles of organization for a LARA report? Or from LARA, I should say?
Yes, this is very typical for Michigan articles of organization as reported in the public record.
Okay, I'm gonna mark
Bye,
it.
Monty.
Do you have any objection to me admitting
Well,
this?
let me see what it is first.
Yeah,
He just flashed it to me.
I think it's actually one of your clients' stuff that he sent over.
And Your Honor, if I may, having worked in a lot of different states and done different things, Laura is a lot better than most. We have a really good corporation service.
Oh, that is a good idea.
Bureau here in Michigan. We're blessed.
What's that?
A lot of people.
Oh,
don't
Shelley
have to do
posted something I
stuff.
thought was funny.
Emoji of Kramer coming in the door so we can use it when we arrive in chat. We could do that.
Other states don't know how good we have it.
Handing you what's been marked as exhibit,
Okay, no objection, Mr. Abbott?
No objection, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
handing you what's been marked as exhibit C. Do you recognize that document?
Uh,
Or I should say, do you recognize the type of document?
Oh, absolutely. This is the type of report that you would get by going to the Laura State of Michigan website and
Why does he keep calling
typing in
it
a
Laura?
search for a company.
Okay. And you didn't file these articles of organizations, correct?
That's correct. I did not.
Okay. But I don't think we have any objection to move to admit, do we?
No objection.
Okay, so we'll move to admit exhibit C.
I drink coffee
And then,
because I'm lame.
thank you. If you want to hand that. On this
Coffee's
document, this is the form, this is the Articles of Organization for Epic Title Services LLC. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay, and there it says that the agent name is Christina Cattleberry. Do you see that?
Yes, listed as resident agent.
Okay. Does that have any weight when it comes to ownership? The name of Christina Cattleberry as registered agent?
Very little. When I set up a lot of companies for my clients, I often serve as the resident agent. So if you were to do a search on the Laura website for my name, it would come up with probably 80 or 90 different entities that I'm the resident agent for, that I've organized for my clients over the years.
Okay. And so you could be the registered agent without being the owner?
Oh, absolutely. Very common. Attorneys organize companies all the time. Attorneys and accountants serve as resident agents all the time. In fact, there are many entities that act as resident agent. Invesco, CT Corporation are professional resident agents where you're able to pay.
I actually haven't seen this witness or talked to him since his testimony in May. So
And when
sorry,
that
no, he's fine. We hung up beforehand.
them an annual fee in order to use their name and address to serve as your resident agent.
Okay. And since this is an LLC, are there any documents required to be filed with the state of Michigan denoting ownership interest
None.
or membership interest?
No ownership interests are required to be filed with the state, and ownership is not considered to be part of the public record for entities in Michigan.
Okay. And so it's conceivable that there could be no documents that denote the ownership of this company, and yet there's still an article of organization filed. Is that fair?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes, again, people are sloppy. It's pretty easy to form a limited liability company in Michigan, and whether you have the necessary supporting documents to show everything, sometimes those are done weeks,
Definitely
months,
a
sometimes
Zima.
even years later when an issue comes up and somebody says, "Where's your minute book? Who owns this? Where's your operating agreement?" Not unusual for new entities to take a while in order to get all of that cleaned up.
Showing you again what's been already admitted as Exhibit B.
This is
The
the
first page on this indicates
transaction
that the
document.
sale and transaction of this document, or this agreement rather, was to take place January something of 2020, correct?
Yes, effective January 2020, that's the effective date.
Did the company actually change hands on January 20th, 2020?
For tax purposes, it is considered to have changed hands on January 20th, 2020, but for operating purposes, of course, it did not. I mean, it was operating well into May before the new owners actually took control of the entity.
Okay, so that's one part in here that doesn't conform with reality, but is the understanding of the parties. Fair to say?
Well, that's why we have the date that it's entered into, and then we have the effective date. When you're within a tax period, you're able to backdate things in order to deal with the tax consequences accordingly.
Okay. So,
Yes, there is a difference between an LLC and a corporation. A LLC, the tax consequences flow through the company to the owners, and the owners are identified in an IRS tax document. But all other liability stops. So you can't sue the owner for, say, breach of contract if the LLC enters into a contract or any other sort of liability. The only liability that passes through the company is taxes. That's why he's testifying that for tax purposes, they needed to identify the owners as that one woman, because that's what was filed with the IRS. But that doesn't mean that that one woman is the only owner of the LLC. Now, for a corporation, everything stops with the corporation, including the tax liability. But either way, you don't need to register the owners of either a corporation or an LLC in the state of Michigan. The only time I think you would need to register it is if it's publicly traded, because then you need to keep a list of all the shares that are owned by the individuals for a corporation. But that's basically the difference.
I didn't know
It's
that.
easy to do an LLC because all the liability stops, and then you just pay taxes as if it's your personal taxes, right? But that again doesn't denote ownership. That just denotes how you are applying for the tax purposes. You know how you're handling the taxes.
Mhm.
Hey, White Rabbit, welcome, and everyone else. I see it in the chat. Let's see, Wicked and Dave. That would be a great video. The difference between LLC and actually, I think I have a video on this very subject that I did like 5 years ago. Maybe I'll do it as a remastered, reissue it.
typically when you engage in these transactions, are you provided with the ownership or membership schedules when you're drafting something like this, so you know who the owners are?
Typically, if they exist, yes.
Okay. To your knowledge, do you remember reviewing any of those?
I just don't recall. I don't know why I felt that there were significant concerns over ownership, but I had significant concerns over ownership.
Sure. Let me ask you this.
Wait a minute, Baker, did you get to 500 subs?
Almost, right?
No, it says 500.
Oh,
Nice.
yay.
You're muted. You're muted, sir.
Yeah, that's because I'm doing all the stuff with measuring things and stuff. 500, halfway there.
Halfway there. By the way, everyone, when I'm done with this, I'm dumping you into Baker's stream. He's finished, or not finishing up. He's covering, what is it, day 4, part 1 of the Thomas Randolph trial. So I'm going to dump you guys all there. And if you are not a subscriber to the Broken Baker, you need to subscribe because it's awesome content. Don't let the fact that he is Danish prevent you from subscribing to him. You really need to subscribe to him. And then I think Jamie, you're gonna be over there too, right? So if you like Jamie and Baker, you guys should go over there.
I only stream to have Jamie on. To be quite fair, it's that and then talk to the expert. That's
Right.
the 2 reasons I'm on YouTube. The White Rabbit gets angry and blocks me half the time, but yeah. But thank you all so much. It's been an amazing journey the last 4 months since David had me on the first time. So
Yeah, your goal was 50, and you got 10 times that now, right?
Yeah, 50 by New Year's, and I just blew it out the water, and all of that is because of Michigan and his great crew online.
I'm gonna put I'm gonna put all the credit on the chat because they're the ones that share it most and do all the heavy lifting. But that's cool. Hopefully we can get you monetized by New Year's, right? Way exceed your goal. See, that's what a New Year's resolution should be. You should set a modest goal and then go way beyond it by the time it rolls around, right?
I had 3 goals this year, and after annoying you and Nick in chat, I met all of them within, I think, a month and a half. So if you
That's
aim
very
for the moon, you might miss, but if you aim for Søren's face, you can hit a lot of times.
Oh, all right, very cool. Yeah, monetized by Thanksgiving. I'll go with that. Let's see if we can get you monetized by Thanksgiving. You have the watch hours, right? You just need the subs.
I have more than 6,000 hours watch time.
Nice. So we got to get 500 more subs. We could do it. We should do like a marathon thing. There should be a way we can do this. We'll make it happen. But very cool. Congrats on the 5.
Thank you so much.
If all of these individuals listed in this document and signed this document, besides Heather and Amy, were owners, or if just one person were owners, or if there were 100 other owners, does that change the assets owned by Epic Title Services, LLC?
It does not. Just like when you sell shares of General Motors, you don't change what General Motors owns and controls.
Nothing further.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Helm. You have a,
Well, the document went beyond the scope of my cross-examination.
No, he questioned a lot about it in his cross-examination.
No, C.
Oh,
You just had C.
yeah, okay.
okay, I'm fine with that.
Thanks.
As long as we keep it, you
Yep.
know.
I have two questions.
Yep, you're fine.
Right. Do you have C in front of you still? sir?
I do
Let's see if he limits himself to 2.
I know.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah. I understand the registered agent can be anyone, and you're absolutely correct on that. And who was listed as the organizer on that document?
Christina is listed as the organizer.
That's the person that starts the company, right?
That is the one that sets it up, yes.
Would May 7th of 2021, when Exhibit B was signed, would that be outside of the tax period for 2020?
Not if the tax returns hadn't been filed yet.
Okay, so you could still do that, and that's the reason on the last page of Exhibit B, where Ms. Leonardo and Ms. Lusby appear to have named themselves as members, or as managers, I believe, and they dated it January 20 of 2020, when in fact they did it in May, right? We're going.
Correct, for tax purposes.
No further questions. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
I think that was 3 questions, but that's okay.
Mr. Perry,
Sounded
is it
like-
uncommon for an owner of a business entity?
By the way, so in Michigan, if in a jury trial, the jurors do get to ask questions, but this is a bench trial. And before that was a rule that juries could ask questions, the judge in a bench trial could always ask questions. And so the judge in a jury trial could ask questions as well. So the judge is making inquiries. He asks his own questions, and I think they're actually quite good. One of the reasons why I really like jury questions is because it gives you an idea of where the jury's thinking, and the same thing with judge questions. Yeah, objection. That was 3 questions. I know.
Yeah.
and in the trial we were watching, they had jury questions too, and the first couple of days they didn't ask them, and then yesterday they asked, did he seem to have a breakdown or be emotional when he did the walkthrough? And I thought, well, if the jury is asking that and getting a negative answer, that's not great for the defendant.
Yeah. So as a defense counsel, then you would want to try to work with that going forward and make sure that the jury's sort of concerns are addressed.
That's why jury questions would be good for you, like.
Yeah, they are, and that's why I think this judge has some good questions too. So we'll hear what they are. I don't remember what they are. Oh, Baker disappeared. He's hitting all kinds of buttons as well.
Yeah, I know.
To identify themselves as an agent
As a resident agent? No, it's not uncommon. It happens regularly.
I got the Jamie disease.
Just pressing buttons.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Oh,
Sorry, guys, I was muted. I was for some reason I went really quiet, and I wanted to get what the judge said, so I backed it up a touch. And then Baker left, and then came back, and so all right, now we're ready to go.
And they dated it January 20 of 2020, when in fact they did it in May, right? We're going.
Correct, for tax purposes.
No further questions. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Carey, is it uncommon for an owner of a business entity to identify themselves as an agent?
As a resident agent? No, it's not uncommon. It happens regularly. It's also not uncommon for it not to be that person.
Right.
So while it's some evidence that the person may be an owner, we often dig a little deeper, right? If it's an attorney, if it's a CT Corp or something else, then it's pretty obvious that it normally isn't, although not always. Attorneys do own companies. So it's very weak evidence of ownership.
Okay. All right. Any questions for our witness based upon his answer to my question?
No further questions.
None, Your Honor.
All right, good. Thank you very much for your testimony. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do I need to stick around or can I head out?
You do not.
I would ask that he be released.
That's fine.
Well, he's not subpoenaed, but, you know, I just.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not gonna recall.
Nope.
We're fine. He can go.
Okay, you are free to leave.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Oh, I didn't use it.
Can we take a?
All right, so thoughts, feelings on this first witness now that we've heard it all.
Well, I today, because we jumped right in the middle of it. It seemed kind of if you didn't see the first video, you're probably not getting it. But I think he's a good witness. Maybe a little. He liked to talk too much. He liked to answer questions that's not been asked.
Yeah, he does. He does like to talk a lot. Sorry, I thought we were taking a 5-minute break, but I forgot the court doesn't. It stops and starts the recording again. So, yeah,
but
he does.
I like him. I think he did a very good job of explaining exactly what the problem or how he did the contract.
yeah.
This
From
is-
what I remember of the first one, I really like this guy.
Yeah, and my original plan was to play these more in sequence with each other, and then I got tied up doing something. There was a trial that came up or something, so I didn't end up finishing it. And we probably should have done it more closer together, so everyone would have a fresher recollection of the first part of this. But we can always go back and watch it. He was informative. He was even more informative, I feel like, on direct, because this was all essentially cross that we were watching. So, but the bottom line is that there were a bunch of people that were potentially involved in the ownership of this company, and he put all of their names in this document, selling all of their ownership interests to Heather and Amy, and that was essentially the bulk of it. And as an expert, he testified that based on the conduct of the parties involved, particularly the defendant, it's clear that he was an owner of some sort, and that the domain name would have been an asset of the company, because it's not something you title. It's not something that you necessarily need to make a note about or have it in writing for the company to actually own the domain name. So that's what he testified to. And
Explained it really well, because I don't know a lot about this stuff.
Yeah.
Is
the cute blonde Amy.
Oh my gosh. Salvador.
Truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay, Ms. Leonardo, the seat is safe for you.
Yes, this is Amy.
Excellent. Okay, Ms. Leonardo, I'll have you do the same as Mr. Carey did. That's to state your full name on the record and spell each part of it for us, please.
Amy Beth Leonardo. Amy, A-M-Y, Beth, B-E-T-H, Leonardo, L-E-O-N-A-R-D-O.
Excellent. Okay, good. And then I'll have Mr. Helm start his direct examination of you.
Thank you. Is it okay if I call you Amy, or Your Honor, do you have a preference?
Yeah, I will say this, that civil cases are usually a lot more complicated than criminal cases. If you ask any attorney that does both criminal and civil, they'll say that criminal is much easier because it's straightforward. Civil, there's a lot more moving parts.
No, I'm fine with that.
When did you first become involved with Epic Title Services?
It was the summer of 2021, or well, I would say a little bit prior to the summer of 2021. Well, I guess, talking about Epic Title Services, I guess.
Let me clarify. Were you employed by Epic Title Services before you became owner?
Yes.
Okay. When did you first become employed by Epic Title Services?
I believe we signed the contract on August 7th of 2020.
Okay,
Might have been the 9th, forgive me if my dates are a little off.
that's fine. But it was August of 2020.
It was.
All right. And what were you hired to do?
We were hired to,
So I will say I'm shuffling through folders because I had this idea that I was going to organize all my exhibits in these different folders based off of like the parties involved, and it turned out to be the worst idea ever for trial because I didn't know which were which, and was this letter or this document supposed to be in this folder? But it was just ridiculous. It would have been better if I just stacked them all up. So that's what I'm doing. I'm flipping through my exhibits because I don't know what the hell I put everything.
it was a little misconstrued in the beginning, but basically we were hired to run the title company.
Okay. Had you had experience running title companies prior to that?
We had, me and my partner Heather had experience managing title companies, but not fully running a title company.
It just sounded so good when I was putting it
Was the
together
title
the night
company
before.
up and running at the time you were hired in August of 2020?
No.
All right. What did the title company, and we say title company, it's Epic Title Services LLC, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what did Epic Title have going on at the time you were hired?
There was an affiliate that Darren had told us when we first hired on that we would be sort of mentored by, that owned another title company that was called Dream Title. She then basically told us that she's not going to have anything to do with Epic Title, so Heather and I, my partner Heather Lesbian, I had to start it from the ground up.
I can't stop hearing lesbian.
Okay, so essentially, did it have any customers at the time?
Well, that's kind of a tricky question as well, because there were real estate agents on Darren and Christie's team that the intent was to use us, but not when we first started. We had to get the company up and running first.
Okay. Did it have a website when you first started?
Yes.
What was the domain name of that website?
EpicTitleMI.com.
Okay. Is that still the domain name used today?
It is.
Did
Yes,
you
I
have
did it
any
myself.
control over EpicTitleMI.com when you were hired in?
Fake.
We were given the,
Look at-
it's the GoDaddy.
Okay, can I get props though for being able to question a witness in a coherent fashion while I'm frantically looking for exhibits? Can I at least get that credit? Because
You
obviously
can, but I can feel it. Like, I feel your vibe right now because I'm like, that's what I would do. I try to be all organized and then I forget where I put everything.
it was such a disastrous organization of the case file. It was so bad. And it's not like I didn't like have time. I literally thought out in my mind, this is how I'm going to organize everything. And it just turned out to be horrible in the moment. So I will never do that again.
Well, when you become a millionaire on the Sarah Boone case, you can hire Irish.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Irish.
have to. I know she's over here. She's over here in the chat, just giving me all kinds of grief. Yes, this is not how you would have done it. Who said it was coherent? Okay, well, I'm at least making progress, right? Forward steps. Steps.
That is one thing about Dave is he can talk about anything he needs to while he's frantically freaking
This
out.
is not the line of questioning I had initially planned. I had an exhibit that I was gonna hit, and I couldn't find it, and so I was just like, let's just talk about something. Let's keep it going.
Sure.
This is real life. This is real life, people. This is how trials go.
Eddie is who hosts the website, and we were given the information to access that site just in case we
Clumsy.
needed it for anything.
Welcome.
We actually did need it at a time. We hired an IT, a tech employee. He's a contracted employee, and he had to get on there to do certain things. So Heather and I did have access to the GoDaddy domain site.
Okay. And did you do things to the website after you were hired in August of 2020?
We did, yes.
What did you do?
We added a widget, which is just a button that you go in and click with your mouse for a title capture application. And just some vanity things to make it look a little bit better, change the colors and make it look a little bit better.
Okay. Now, who was,
I found them.
you say you were hired to run it. Did you have a title?
I guess not necessarily a title. We were brought in, the negotiation in the beginning was that we would be part owners of the company. So I guess I would like to assume that I was a operating partner or part owner of the company.
Okay, did you have any equitable interest
Apparently
in the
not.
company?
Wait a minute.
The
I'm still looking.
contract did state that we would have 3% each, Heather and I, and for the first year, and then, I'm not sure how it read, and I apologize. 3% is what was negotiated and what we signed.
Now, was Heather hired at the same time you were?
Yes, she was.
Were you guys on par with each other, or did you have different positions?
We have different expertise, but we were both hired in to basically run the title company.
Maybe Fast Group is a bit lost. He's just come in and asked, "Is that our host in court?" And
Oh.
yeah, the man in
Yes.
the yellow power tie who doesn't
yes.
know to organize his folders.
The man who's asking questions in the beautiful yellow tie that has no clue where his exhibits are and is trying to fill time while he looks for them is me. This is a trial that I conducted in May of 2023. I am plaintiff's counsel. This is a civil case in Flint, 5 minutes from Jamie's home. And she's never been there, though. And yeah, so that's what we're watching. Select a better tie. I love this tie. I'm sorry. Okay. I've shown my ties on stream before. Actually, it might have been as a guest on someone else's stream. And I feel like it's been Nicholas's stream, but I have a lot of ties. They're all fantastical colors because the only way you can accessorize as a man in a suit in court is with your tie and your socks. So that's what I do. Oh, and Farrell finally woke up. Welcome, Farrell.
Yeah, she's going back to bed in an hour and a half when I start streaming.
Yeah, right. Just wear the tie.
David yelled, "Facts, not evidence." I loved
I
it.
did not yell. I did, didn't I?
You did.
Assumes facts, not in evidence. Yes, I did. And I did the what if anything. I did the what if anything.
We did have a what if anything, yeah.
And
You just need
I
a grounds. You need a grounds.
just
Then
need a grounds.
the bingo.
This is in Flint. Yes. I hope the water at the table isn't. Yeah. Okay. The water in Flint is fine. It's the media that blew it out of proportion.
Yeah.
Jamie, you're good, right? You drink the water.
Well, yes. My water is perfectly fine.
So, but yeah, no, I was frantically looking for a document for like the last, 10 minutes of me questioning this witness, and I finally found it. So that's where we are. And yeah, but the issue in the case is who owns a domain name. My clients purchased a company, and the company had a website when they first started working there before they purchased it. And they assumed that the website, the domain name and everything was coming with the company. And the defendant, who's the bald gentleman on the right, says, no, I personally own it. And so we are arguing over who owns the domain name, as well as some other damages associated with shutting down the website. The court has already made the determination that it was wrong for the guy to shut down the website. And we're just trying to determine damages on that and who actually owns the domain name. So that's where we are. And this is 1 day of trial, but because it's long, it's like 7 hours, I think, total. We're going to break this up. But this is part 2. There is a part 1 that you can go back and watch if you want to see the first witness and some preliminary matters. It is not necessarily first world problems. When you have a whole company and a reputation and everything built around a website and emails and things like that, then why pay for the company? They purchased a company, right? So if they have to change the name of the website and the emails and everything else, then what value did the company have other than those two ladies and a couple other employees? So it's part of the value that they paid for.
Let me take a look at it. I think the terms are exactly.
Yes, single day trial, 7 hours.
But I believe the terms are exactly the same. We just confirm it real quick. If not, maybe. So I have mixed contracts up. I have Heather's contracts, not Amy's. I've just asked counsel.
In my opening statements, I basically say that this guy is a giant child. I might be biased in my presentation of this case too, just a little bit. But I say that this guy is a giant child, and if he can't have his candy, no one else can, kind of thing. And he was essentially forced to sell the business because my two clients ran the whole thing, and they said either you sell us the business and get a little bit of money, or we walk and we go start a competing company. And so he ended up selling it, and then he realized that he still had the login credentials for the domain name and would start messing with them afterwards. So that's what happened.
Counsel to confer. I believe the terms are identical. And so maybe we can just sort of interpose for the purposes of the terms of the contract. If not,
Apparently I didn't find the right
reference it a
document.
different way. I have it on my computer. I just didn't. I printed out the wrong one.
I
Okay.
did not find the right document.
Gosh, David.
We're talking about an employment document for this particular witness when she was first hired in. I can't find it for her, but I find it for my other client who's sitting there, and I'm asking if we'll just agree that one is the same as the other. I didn't find the right document. I need Iris. I need Iris working for me in preparing these trial documents. This is awesome.
Just
I
get
forgot
your butt
about
up
this.
here. Yeah, move up here, Iris. We can all hang out. You can work
That's-
for day.
That's right. This is real life. We're doing it live. This is how trials go. Now they're going to look over it very carefully. It is identical. It's a form document that they just filled in their name and signed at the bottom. So they're identical.
I apologize, Your Honor.
No, that's fine. I'm wondering if we need to use any technology, we can.
Use this one.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll mark this as Exhibit D then.
Okay.
I was watching a trial the other day, and the attorneys asked permission to hand out documents. It was that trial in Arizona, to hand out documents to everybody instead of projecting it. And the judge was like, so we need permission to do it the way we've done it for hundreds of years now, we're just so compliant. I'm handing you what's been marked as Exhibit D. Do you recognize this document?
By the way, the judge knows that I have this YouTube channel and that I stream trials. So that's what we were
That was
talking about.
funny. I was watching this crap the other day. when we
I just
talked.
casually, I was watching this other trial. Yeah.
I do,
Okay, and this is entitled Employment Contract. You see that?
yes,
However, if you turn to the last page, that is not your signature, but that is in fact Heather's signature, correct?
yes, that's correct.
Okay. Do you recall receiving a document like this for your contract?
Yes,
And was it the same terms and conditions? If you recall.
yes.
Okay.
I mean, I would have to read through it, and it's vague in my mind, it's been a while, so it does look definitely the same, like the same contract.
Might I be able to show the witness hers on my laptop?
Sure.
You
I
have
have
any
no
objection?
objection. You
Okay.
can show it to me first.
Absolutely. This is your client's
Supposed counsel. Everything's
Page 62.
his laugh. Does he sound like a used car salesman?
Yeah, and his bleached teeth doesn't make it better.
Yeah, that's fine. Sure, no problem. It's one good thing about a bench trial, you can do stuff like this.
Right. Okay, I'm showing you on my computer what is, should we relabel it Exhibit E, or, I'll identify this as Exhibit D.
Whatever your preference is, how about, you can reference that as Exhibit D, and we can just mark the other one with the explanation on the record, the signatures, that's
Perfect.
perfectly fine. I'm not trying to make things difficult.
I
Let's just
appreciate
do
it,
right.
thank you.
Yes, you are, sir.
Okay, so, if you need it zoomed in, or something, let me know. But I'm gonna flip through the 4 pages that it is first. So that's page 2, 3, and 4.
Yes.
Is that your signature?
It is.
Okay.
If you're loving MLS in court and you want to continue to see MLS in court, give a thumbs up. Let me know you're liking it.
And is this your contract when you were first hired in August of 2020?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And the terms in this contract, if take a minute to review if you need to, are they the same?
They are the same.
Okay. Even like the page breaks are the same, correct?
Mr. Helm, do you have another copy of that somewhere
Yep.
that I can look at?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
They are. If you could just switch to the last page there, just to make sure that's the same, but yeah. Yeah, they are the
Okay.
same.
And in fact, your name isn't printed on this document, just your signature, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And do you know whose signature there is at the bottom?
That's Darren's Petterkey.
Okay. And can you look at that physical copy? Is that also Darren's signature?
Yes.
Okay. Move to admit Exhibit D with our explanation, Judge.
Got it?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay.
Grant the request?
Thank you very much. I will hand a copy to the judge, please, for publication. On this last page, so that's Darren's signature,
That's correct.
and it says company official signature?
That's correct.
Okay, so he's operating on behalf of the company as you understood it to be?
That is correct.
Did Darren supervise you directly?
Yes.
Okay. And was he an employee, if you know, of Epic Title Services LLC at the time?
Not that I know of. He
Okay.
had no part in any runnings of the company.
What was your understanding as to Darren's interest in the company when you were employed there?
My understanding was he was the owner of the company.
Okay. And how is it that you come to understand that?
He made all the decisions. He basically, we kind of looked at him like he was our boss. Him and Christy Candleberry were real estate partners, and every time, Christy is my sister-in-law. So every time I would go to her and talk to her about things to do with the title company, she would say, I don't know anything about it, I have nothing to do with it, talk to Darren. So my assumption was that Darren
You
was
notice no
the
hearsay
sole-
objection.
and the guy
Okay.
owned it.
When you had to, when you were first given authority to
So the woman that she's referring to, that's her sister-in-law, is the woman that is listed as seller in the document, and they're trying to say that she's the only owner. And she just, my client just testified that based off of her conversations with that woman, that Darren is in fact the owner, the defendant sitting there. There's no objection to that, which I find odd that he didn't object to that. I try to push the line a little bit. When there's no objection, I'll just keep going.
Of course.
Yeah, why not? Right? Don't ask for permission, ask forgiveness. Right? Just keep
Mhm.
pushing that.
It's just like crimes. It's not illegal if you're not caught.
Exactly. Exactly.
access the website, who gave you the credentials?
Darren did.
Okay.
Can we get a time or a date when that was?
Sure. Well, you had previously testified that when you were hired in August of 2020, part of what you were doing is addressing the website, correct?
That's correct.
And you were given credentials to do that?
It was very early on. It might have been September, but it was very early on when we first started.
Okay. And when I say credentials, what are we talking about?
We're talking about username and password to get into GoDaddy's website.
Okay. And GoDaddy is the host of the domain name, correct?
Correct.
And at the time, was it also hosting the website?
It was.
Okay. And for the
Oh,
court...
I'm sorry. It was not. That was Title Tap. That was hosting the website. They
Okay.
were the domain name host.
Okay. And for the court, if you could please explain maybe the difference between a domain name and a website and a hosting company.
To the best of my knowledge, the domain name is the actual, oh gosh, it means a few things to me, I guess. It's the website that you can visit, that our customers visit, and it also is the, after the @ sign on the email, that's the address that's used as well. So it's tied into our emails and it's tied into our website.
Okay. You could change the website and have the same domain, correct?
Yes.
You could change the layout of the website.
Yes, absolutely.
The way it looks.
Yes.
Okay. is that, well, we'll get to that later. But the website existed when you were hired in August of 2020?
It
Yes?
did.
All right. And you said you added a button and changed some colors and
Yeah.
things? Okay. Was there a time that you decided that you no longer wanted to work for Darren Petterfy?
Yes.
When did that occur?
I would say Heather and I started discussing it probably in January of 2022. I'm sorry, I'll get my dates get mixed up. January of 2021, because we purchased it in May of 2021, so it was January of 2020. We started discussing it.
Okay. So you're hired in August of 2020. September, October, November, December, January. So that's 5 months later, you start discussing the idea of selling or purchasing the company or doing something else.
Doing something else, yes.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you said you and Heather started discussing
Yes,
that?
that's correct.
Okay. And what was the something else you were thinking about doing?
We were absolutely going to stay in title. We didn't really get too into if we wanted to purchase the company. We had thrown around that idea, but we were mainly on the idea that we could start our own title company. So that's kind of what we started to discuss.
Now, you had said your background has been in title and real estate, correct?
Correct.
How long have you worked in title and real estate?
Title and real estate together, about 10 years.
Okay. And specifically with the title, how long have you worked with title agencies or for title agencies?
Since 2016.
Okay. Have all of them had websites?
Yes.
Have all of them also had brick and mortar?
Yes.
Okay. In those prior companies, how much of the business transacted through the website as opposed to somebody walking in?
Okay, so Mr. I'm just catching up on the chat here. So Mr. Petterfy is Darren Petterfy. He's the defendant in this case. If that's what the chat's referring to, does it sound like something else?
No, I don't know. We have Miss Lesbian and Mr. Pedophy in this trial.
That's right.
It's hard to tell because I wasn't in control over that area, but it's very important. You could put in submit orders through the website. So, I mean, I don't know.
Okay. Did you have concerns early on for the appearance of the website when you were first hired in?
Yes.
Okay. Did you express those concerns to anyone?
Yes, we had talked about it. That's why changes were made.
Okay. All right. So, catching up to January then of 2021, you had discussions with Heather about forming your own title company. Yes.
That's correct.
But ultimately, you decided to make an offer to purchase Epic Title Services.
That's
LLC.
correct.
Okay. Why is it that you decided to try to purchase Epic Title Services LLC?
Because we had so much time in trying to build Epic Title, Heather and I have a pretty great reputation with a lot of clients, and we had started to gain their business and they started seeing us out there. So we figured that in effort to keep our reputation and not have to switch companies and make it look wishy-washy to the clients that we were getting, that if we keep Epic Title and run Epic Title outside of Darren, that we would be better off.
Okay. Were there any conflicts you were having with Darren at the time?
Yes, yes.
What were those conflicts?
I would say just a disagreement of the way we were conducting our business.
This is kind of a hard thing because I want her to say something very specific, and I don't think she gets there, and I keep having to ask the same question multiple different ways. Let's see if she actually finally gets there. I can't remember if she does.
Didn't line up with the way he was doing things. We started hearing a lot about, and I mean, this is hearsay, but
I'm going to object to the hearsay.
I'm going to respond as effect on the listener. I wanted to know why she had issues with the defendant. I don't really care what the issues are, so for the sake of addressing the hearsay, it's only for effect on the listener. I wanted to know why she decided, instead of just working with Mr. Petterfy, to buy him out or go somewhere else.
reply to that response?
It's still hearsay. If she started phrasing, I've heard things, and so that's hearsay, hearing things. She can give.
I can
her
rephrase
reasons.
the question, Judge.
Okay. I'm just afraid that even if I were to let this go,
Okay. By the way, I've had numerous conversations with my client about the questions I was going to ask her and what she was going to testify to. Can't help it if they forget things on the stand.
that the information that she's receiving from these other people would, for the truth of the matter asserted, would be involved here.
Sure.
Okay, let's just see if we can work around it.
That's fine. Did Mr. Petterfee have a reputation in the community?
Yes, he did.
Was it a good reputation?
No, it was not.
Okay. And did that start impacting you personally as far as your career,
Yes, it did.
as well as Heather's?
Yes, it did.
Hey, Viking
I
Ray.
get where you're going now. Okay, makes more sense.
Hi, everybody.
Now, did you, based off of that impact, believe it was
Hey, Fed.
going to be sufficient if you separated yourself from Mr. Petterfee and continued to operate Epic Title?
Yes.
Welcome, everyone, from Nicholas's stream. This is my trial from May. That is one of my clients on the stand. This is a civil case, bench trial, and this is our second witness now. The dispute is over the domain name, and when this particular woman, as well as her partner, purchased a company, whether or not the company owned the domain name. Can we start over? I haven't seen this. We're not going to start over. Yes. Well, that is a fine-looking client.
She is not. He's called. Is that Mr. Petterfee, or is he the defendant?
Mr. Petterfee is the defendant.
Okay. Okay. So Mr. Petterfee's lawyer must be the one he was talking about. The fine-looking one.
Oh, the
he has his
fine-looking.
teeth bleached and
Oh my God.
bleached and everything.
He's got that confident way of laughing, right? It just makes you want to trust him all over. But yeah,
He
so
does. He's very approachable when he does that. So
we will we'll keep going. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shout them out. I know you guys are coming into this late, but essentially the question is who owns the domain name, Mr. Petterfee himself personally, or the company who is now owned by this woman and her partner? So that's the underlying question here. And she's talking about why at first she worked for the company and then she bought the company out from Mr. Petterfee, and why she no longer wanted to work for Mr. Petterfee is where she's at now. Pedophile, I think. Pedophile. That's how it's being pronounced. I didn't say it.
I was trying to steer around the hearsay. Okay.
Right.
So did you make an offer to purchase Epic Title Services LLC?
Yes.
That's okay. Who did you make that offer to?
Darren.
Okay. And by the way, yes, when I'm done with this, it's not going to go terribly long, maybe another 20 minutes or so. And then I'm going to dump you guys all into Baker, who's going to be covering the Thomas Rudolph Day 4 case. So you guys won't miss anything. You can stick around here and you guys will go straight over to Baker.
Yeah, I think I'm jumping off and making myself some dinner so I can be ready and
Finish measuring. When I first pulled him up, he had a measuring tape out, but I'm not sure what he was
what were
measuring.
you doing?
Well, it's because Søren said 30 centimeters. That's too much, and I said no. That's
Right.
normal. So
Pretty cute.
and Tommy hasn't testified yet. Until Friday, they're probably on the state's case. They're going to have some DNA experts and stuff like that. And Farrell, you say you want to be dumped into Baker, but you never show up. You
Mhm.
can't handle the Baker. No, I love you, Farrell. I'm measuring for trying to make a baking setup so I can make better videos when I'm baking. So I'm doing a lot of measuring.
Yeah, we're talking about girth, Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just to clarify. Baker, we'll see you over on your stream if you're going to jump out now. Thank you for joining
and
us.
thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for the ones who brought me above 500 subscribers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, are you over 500 now? Nice.
Last time I looked, I was 502.
Ooh.
Nice. 503 now. I just refreshed it.
Ooh,
503.
ooh.
So if you guys aren't subscribed to Baker, stick around for another 20 minutes or so. When I end this, you'll be redirected over there and you guys can subscribe and then go watch day 4 of the Thomas Rudolph trial over there.
An interesting case. That's a retrial of a former DP case. And so far, they haven't really touched a reasonable doubt, but he did a walkthrough video yesterday that kind of did it. He wasn't that great. But
Not for me though.
so, no, not for you, Jamie. You're such a trustworthy person. But I will see
Salvador's
you later.
about 10 minutes too late, but thanks, Salvador, for letting us know. All right,
It's
bye,
like
Baker.
Salvador is kind of like a lady. Always never come in on time with all the rest of us. But see you all later. Bye.
Bye. All right, we'll keep going here. Again, let me know if you guys have any questions, but this is my trial. So Corn Pope, yes, this is me in action. You guys can critique me all you want. We had a great exchange earlier where I was trying to BS testimony while frantically looking for exhibits that turns out I didn't bring with me. So that's kind of the fun stuff you get with my trials. Let's go from here.
Why did you make the offer to Darren?
Because we thought he was the owner of the company.
What was his response?
It was not good. He did not respond that he wanted to accept that offer.
If you can remember as close as possible to what his actual response was?
Probably some swearing in there that we're crazy for thinking that we could purchase his company.
And he identified it as his company.
Yes,
Did you talk to your sister-in-law at all?
I did.
And that's Miss Canterbury?
That's correct.
Is that, am I saying it right?
Candleberry.
Candleberry.
Yeah.
Okay. Did she agree to sell the company?
She did not.
Okay. Eventually, they did sell the company, correct?
Correct.
All right. And
Thanks, Iris. That's amazing compliment.
the other gentleman, strike that. I'm going to approach with Exhibit B if I.
Right, this is what I wanted her to say. I wanted her to say he was
See, I thought
he
it
was a
was really
douche. He was an
organized, but
asshole. He
this
was a
system.
petulant child, and she's not saying it.
Maybe she thinks she can't.
But we've had specific
This has
comments.
been
He's
entered
being a
as Exhibit B.
child.
Do
He
you
was
recognize this document?
swearing and.
Yes, I do.
Okay. If you turn to the second.
Real quick synopsis. The woman on the stand and the woman standing or sitting behind me were working for a company called Epic Title Services. They decided that they didn't like the owner, who's the bald gentleman on the right, and they were going to either buy him out or form their own company. So they made him an offer, and he apparently swore at them in response, but she's a little reluctant to give the exact statements, and but eventually agreed to the buyout. So my clients purchased the company in May of 2021, backdated it to January of 2020 for tax purposes, and then continued to operate the company until October of 2021 when they tried to revamp the website and realized that they didn't have all the login information for the domain name. So they reached out to Mr. Petterfee for the domain name or the credentials for the domain name, and he said, no, I still own it. Even though the company was still paying to host it, he hadn't done anything with it since the purchase. It just continued to operate. He all of a sudden claims now that he owns it. So the lawsuit was filed. Once the defendant shut down the website, we filed an injunction and filed the lawsuit. The court ordered him to maintain the website. While the case was pending, he shut it down again in violation of the court order. There were show cause and contempt proceedings. The website is still up and running. Now, this is the day of trial. The purpose of this trial is to determine who actually owns the domain name, whether the company does or Mr. Petterfee does individually, and then also to assess damages because Mr. Petterfee violated the court order when he shut the website down. That's essentially what's going on here. And this is a one-day trial. It takes about 7 hours. It's 7 hours of testimony. We were there all day. So this is part 2 of it. And this is the direct on my second witness. The first witness was the attorney and our expert who drafted the original document to sell the company. So that's where we are with this. Hopefully that helps.
Into the last page, there's a bunch of signature lines. Sorry. Mr.
Yeah, and I have absolutely no order to my documents at all. I thought of this great idea that I would put each of my documents into a separate file because I have multiple copies of them, one for the court, one for the witness, one for defense, one for me to look at. And it turned out to be an absolute disaster. And every time I look for a document, I'm shuffling through 20 different folders. I can't find them. One I didn't print out. So, yeah, it was a good time. That's my preparation. But I actually thought it was going to work. I don't know why I thought it was going to work.
You always do. And then you're like, oh, that wasn't cool.
Right? Wait, did I get more gifts?
Mr. Sabo,
Jamie gifted a membership
me.
and it went to Fast Group. Awesome. And apparently you were trying to gift it to somebody else, Soren.
No, I just threw one out there because
Oh, okay.
I thought it'd be nice.
Well, thank you, Jamie, for the gifted membership.
We'll tell them what they get because we have new people. We have 125 now, so.
I'm right. Yes. So Fast Group, you or anyone who's a new member, you get access to our Discord, and which is where I have all of my member content. I used to say most of it, but it's really kind of all of it. But what we're starting with next Sunday is Hunt a Killer. We're going to do a Hunt a Killer game, which is you are a PI trying to solve a murder. Inside this box, you get a box each month, but I have all of them. So we're going to start that soon. But you get physical evidence as well as notes and documents, and you have to try to solve. Whoop, I'm dropping everything. You have to try to solve a murder. And so, I can't show it without like dumping everything. There. These are part of the physical evidence for this coming up game. But we're going to start this in Discord on Sunday. There's more information about it in Discord as well, and I probably explain myself better in Discord. But check it out. It's on my membership tab on YouTube. Here you get a link to Discord, and
the
it's
membership.
gonna be a lot of fun. What's that?
That Sal just gifted a membership too. Corn pop.
Sal did. Well, then I got Lefty. Lefty's doing a member chat. Weird shirt and tie combo. Jamie say mom.
No.
What's with the Jamie say mom?
He thinks I have this like hearty Midwestern accent. I mean, it's prom, mom, and cops, or anything with an O, apparently. I just say it like a dork.
Corn Pope was gifted a membership. I feel like Corn Pope was already a member, but maybe you're returning. Thank you, Salvador, for the gifted membership to Corn Pope. And wait, hang on. What does it say?
Oh, now Lefty gifted 5.
Nice, you guys. Jamie has lovely lashes. Yes,
Thanks,
she
Sal.
does. You guys are competing with gifted memberships. All right. Lefty just gifted 5 memberships to Bobby Bologna. By the way, Farrell's going to be reaching out to you. She's the lead investigator on the People v. Flux. So keep an eye out for that, Bobby. Shizzy Wisnut's got a gifted membership. Lost Soul. Oh, Lost Souls. Welcome. Gigi, I don't know if Lost Souls is in the chat. Apparently, you can get a gifted membership if you're not in the chat.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Gigi and WV were all gifted memberships. So thank you very much for that, Lefty. Flux, I am innocent. No, you are not, Flux. No, you are not. And I intend to prove it. If Dave ever gives me a list. Well, Bobby's on the list. So go start with him, Bobby, or Flux. Oh, my God. Farrell, please go start with Bobby. We need a written statement because Flux is not innocent, and Bobby's going to be one of our key witnesses. All right. Yeah, Flux, do incriminate yourself with the prosecutor. I know. I felt like my mom, right, trying to call out one of us, and she says everyone's name before she actually gets to the kid that she's trying to identify.
Stop it, everybody.
All right, Iris. Jamie, you got to say it. I gifted to my mom.
I gifted to my mom.
What's wrong with the way you say it?
I don't know.
What are they trying to say?
I don't know. I don't know what people are trying to say.
It's
I
not
don't
a
hear.
witch hunt. My client looks unhappy right now. All right. By the way, so if you guys want to see, so the type of clients that I have right now, they're awesome. So this particular one may or may not have been chewing gum in court. When I leaned over to her and I said, you can't be chewing gum in court. And she said, oh, okay, sorry. And then proceeded to text me this, which, hang on, let me take the banner down. What are the rules against selfies as well as chewing gum in courtroom? So that's the kind of clients I have. They're absolutely awesome. Okay.
Did you ask him to purchase the company at all?
We'd spoken with him, but no, we didn't ask him directly because we did not believe it was Mr. Sapo's company to purchase from him.
Okay. So based off of your experience working there and the people you spoke with, who do you believe owned the company at the time?
To our belief, it was Darren Petterfee, Christy Candleberry, Rich Sabo, Heather, and myself that were owners of the company.
Okay. And that's based off of Exhibit D, which was your employment contract?
I don't believe that ownership was listed on there. I think that was something that we were told. The 3% for us, absolutely.
So the 3% is the profit sharing you're discussing?
That is correct.
Okay. And entitled to 3% stock there, it says at the bottom of the first page?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's what gave you the belief that you
Yes.
also had 3%?
Yes.
Okay. So there's potentially 5 owners or more of this company at this time, correct?
Yes, that's what we were led to believe.
Were you ever given a copy of a membership equalization?
No.
You might have to come back, Fedorowski, for episode 4 of this, which I believe is when we're going to actually get to my cross-examination of the defendant. If you like that paper effect, the paper lift effect.
Let me try to
Sorry.
get the full question out. Any sort of list of the membership equity or equalization chart or anything like that? Were you ever provided anything?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Do you know if one exists?
I don't know.
What is that noise? It sounds like someone's
Ultimately,
clicking
you
a
did
pen.
strike a deal to purchase the company, correct?
Correct.
What sort of purchase, what were exactly, did
Hello.
you understand you were buying?
Welcome.
I understood it as a stock purchase.
And
it
what
was-
does that mean to you?
So it was the company as is. There was a lot that came with the company. We had computers, we had monitors, we had keyboards, we had everything that was a part of the company to keep it up and running was to be sold to us at the time of the sale.
The individual items?
Everything.
Okay. The building had an office, correct?
It did, yes.
Was that leased or owned?
It was leased.
Okay.
It might be
Did
the court reporter clicking.
Lease, was
Yeah.
the lease maintained after this transaction?
It was. It stayed the same.
Did you have to change anything with the lease? Change the owners on the lease or anything?
I don't remember. I know the terms stayed the same. I don't know if we had signed a new lease for ownership. I'm not sure.
Okay. What about the bank accounts? Did those?
They stayed the same.
Okay. Did you have to go in and sign anything for the bank accounts?
We did to
is
remove
that?
Darren and Christy from,
Sounds like chains dragging or something like. Or
Yeah, I think the court reporter over there has like
Oh,
bracelets on, and she's
bracelet.
clickety clacketing and all of that.
Okay.
The bailiff is bringing out the cuffs. I don't know. There's just so many sounds that I'm not hearing when I'm in court that are definitely being picked up by the mics.
I know. I've been hearing that, and I was like, "What is that?" Now you say that, it makes sense. It's probably
Yeah,
like
I think she has bracelets or something.
bracelet.
Yeah, and I did notice she was typing when I heard the clickety click on the in the mic.
being able to be signers on that bank account.
Okay. But other than the signers, is the accounts the same?
They are, yeah.
Okay. And it's still in Epic Title's name?
That's correct.
Okay. What about phone numbers?
Stay the same.
Did you have accounts with telephone providers?
With telephone providers, yes.
Okay.
Comcast.
Comcast?
It's a
Okay.
Bob Cratchit.
And that is in Epic Title's name?
That's correct.
And that stayed?
That stayed the same.
So it was your understanding that nothing about the business operation would change?
Correct.
Now, after, you signed this deal in May of 2021, correct?
Correct.
After May of 2021, did anything about the company's operations change, other than what you might have done? But from the outside, did anything change?
Other than Heather and I taking over ownership, nothing from the outside looked to appear to change to our customers now.
Website stayed up and running?
It did.
The liabilities associated with Epic Title were the same?
They were the same.
Somebody is clicking a pen. Oh no. It's
No, she's over there typing. I
click.
can see it now. Yeah. I need a pen to mimic it.
Handing you what's been marked as Exhibit E, do you
I need to, like-
recognize this document?
drive me crazy.
Did I tell you once when I was in law school and we did a mock trial,
do.
mock argument
Is this essentially a
in a real court? And the idea was that we were going to present like summary oral arguments, and a real judge was sitting and hearing and grading us and stuff. And the court reporter was also giving feedback, and she was like, I liked your approach and all this stuff, but you got to put down the pen. Apparently I was clicking the pen the entire time, and it was driving her nuts.
printout of your website
It is.
as it currently sits?
That's correct.
And this is epictitlemi.com, correct?
That is correct.
People want to know, Lefty.
Is this,
We do.
how would you characterize this website?
Not great.
Okay. This is the home page, the landing page, right?
It is.
So if you were to go to epictitlemi.com, this is what you're going to see?
Correct.
Move to admit Exhibit E.
You need to.
What's that?
I want you to use Exhibit 100 because this is 100% correct.
I know.
Will you please say
Indigo
that
put
one
that
again?
in the chat earlier. Or no, C-Swept did. C-Swept put that in the chat earlier. I'm like, I'm going to figure out a way to do it.
I'm gonna wait for it one day.
Yeah. I'm going to start with 100, and it's going to be like the main document. So every time it gets referenced in the trial, it's going to be Exhibit 100 for 100% accurate or whatever it was.
100% correct.
100% correct. Stupid.
May I go out here the witness on the exhibit, Your Honor?
Certainly.
Ma'am, is this what the website looks like today?
The picture's the same. I mean, it's obviously doesn't look like there's colors to it.
Okay. Did it look like this when you were buying the business?
Very similar.
Did it have the same picture on the front?
Very similar, a building and a bridge.
Did it have our location?
Welcome, MG Law.
1010 West Walton Boulevard, Suite A, Waterford, Michigan, 48329 then?
That has since changed
Yeah,
since
MD.
we were owners of the
When
company.
did that change?
In what universe does he think he's the rightful owner of the company's domain? Okay, so his argument is, and I'll steel man his argument. His argument is that I registered the domain name when the company was formed. I was hired, right? I was hired to essentially manage the company, but I never owned it. And part of my deal to manage the company was that I was going to get the domain name, but I am a collector of domain names and they all have value. And so I would lease domain names out to companies for them to use. And one of them happened to be this. And so that's his justification for he owns it as opposed to the company owning it. But for that to be true, first you have to have like any evidence whatsoever that you actually leased it out. Also, you probably shouldn't be considered probably an owner at the time. You shouldn't hold yourself out as an owner to other employees. And if you're going to lease it out and be a collector of domain names and use them as profit, which he's later going to testify to, you should probably actually get money for leasing it out, right? If you're going to use it to make money off of. That's the idea. So in theory, his argument kind of works, but when you look at the facts, it really doesn't. So, but that's his argument. That's the best way I can steel man his argument.
Changed June of 2022.
What did the website look like when you purchased the company?
It was, I believe it was the Dixie Highway address that was Darren and Christie's real estate business address.
Yeah, he could be a domain squatter if he had registered it well in advance, and if he didn't use it exclusively for the company, didn't register it, right when the company was open, and actually maybe received money in exchange for the company using the domain name. All of those things, if he was able to demonstrate that, would lead to, more valid argument from him. But he doesn't have that information.
Is there anything else different?
He doesn't have
than
those facts.
Honestly, I don't know if there's anything that's different.
Yep,
as
that's what he
far as the
testified
pictures
to.
go. Like
I
I said,
collect
we did
domain
some
names.
small vanity things to it. I don't really know exactly what was done, but it looks similar.
Yeah, with those competes, I have no objection.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Evans. And so court will admit plaintiff's proposed exhibit.
I hope you do.
Definitely.
E as plaintiff's exhibit E.
Thank you. Just to follow up on the address, you said the Dixie Highway address was originally on the email or the website?
I believe it was. That's where we were located at in the beginning, so I believe it would be that address.
Okay.
If
And
any.
did you maintain that?
So there's actually a separate cause of action. I don't think in connection with Google buying it back. I don't think they had to buy it back. I mean, well, that probably was their cheapest option. But there's actually a cause of action where now if people are purchasing domain names, I know somebody has the Twitter handle, a Good Logic, right? In theory, because Joe uses Good Logic in all of his marketing, he should be able to claim that without having to pay the person. The person should actually be held to be infringing on Joe's trademark. So there's a cause of action completely separate from this sort of thing that would say that the guy who registered the Google domain would be infringing on the trademark and be forced to give it back without compensation. But it was probably easier for Google just to buy it.
That address for until June of 2022?
We actually
I don't know,
switched that
C-Swift.
address from Dixie Highway's address to where we had moved to the Gateway Center when we were still with Darren, to 5161 Gateway Center.
Okay.
And since then, we've changed it to Waterford.
All right, I just want to clarify. So when you first hired on, you were at the Dixie Highway area address?
Correct.
Okay. And then you moved to
The Gateway Center in Flint.
approximately when?
Oh my gosh. January of 2021, I'm thinking.
Okay, so when
Early
you just,
2021.
okay, so before you made the offer to purchase?
Correct.
Okay. Did the address change on the website when you moved?
I believe it did.
Okay.
I'm sure it did.
And then, once you purchased the company, you were at that same address that the company had moved to in January of 2021, correct?
That is correct.
And you stayed there until June of 2022?
That is correct.
Okay. And so the address on here is your new address, correct?
That's correct.
All right, but everything else, except for maybe some colors, which might not have printed from the actual website?
Appears to be the same, yeah.
That's the best way to do it. Throw a red question mark up or super chat me if you're so inclined, but I don't need that to answer your
Purchased.
questions.
Epic title. Did you intend to maintain the domain name epictitlemi.com?
Yes.
Why?
It is an integral part of our business.
When you mean integral part, what exactly do you use the website for?
The website is used for brand identity. It's used to basically vet our title company to make sure that we're a legitimate company with the people that use us, be it real estate agents, lenders, attorneys, builders, anybody that is one of our potential customers, clients. Also, it is the suffix of our email addresses. So, and being in the industry for as long as we've been in the industry, representing Epic Title, a lot of people know our email addresses.
And again, when I say website,
That is the absolute best attorney on YouTube right there. That sexy man in the yellow tie.
That's the appearance of it, not necessarily the address that takes you there, correct?
It's confusing.
Oh,
the
wait.
domain name,
How am I
okay.
standing? Did you see? I'm not going to back
Go
it up.
back.
Ah, yeah. God, it's going to be so hard. Wait, okay, so I'm at 159. Okay, wait a minute. Just how am I standing? Why am I standing like that? Okay, hang on.
Lenders, attorneys, builders, anybody that is one of our potential customers, clients. Also, it is the suffix of our email addresses. So, and being in the industry for as long as we've been in the industry, representing Epic Title, a lot of people know our email addresses.
And again, when I say website,
Look at me
that's
shuffling
the
through
appearance
documents.
of it, not necessarily.
Why am I standing like this? Why is that the look? I don't know. I just
You
apparently
got
I
the
just do that.
you love the hand movements.
I do. I talk a lot with my hands and apparently with my leg kicks.
necessarily the address that takes you there, correct? So the domain name, if I may, maybe this makes sense. The domain name is like your street address, right? 1234 Elm Street,
Yes,
all right? The house could be any different shape and colors and
Yes.
whatever, right?
absolutely.
The house is the website, the domain name is the street address. Is that
Yes.
fair? And so when I say website, I'm meaning the house, the color of the siding and that sort of thing.
Okay, I just explained this. So we keep getting new people. All right, all right, real quick. So my ladies purchased a company. When they purchased it, the company was operating a domain name. They believe that they purchased the company and all of its assets because that's what they did, including the domain name. The bald gentleman on the right was the prior owner and said, no, the domain name is mine. I own it personally. And that's what this lawsuit's about in a nutshell. And this is part 2. So there is a part 1, which explains a lot more because we go through opening statements and all that.
Yes.
Okay. You wanted to update the website after you purchased the home,
Yes.
correct?
Why won't my,
And what did you do, if anything, to
if anything?
update the website?
We actually hired a company, an outside company. We currently, well, Darren had started it with TitleTap was the hosting company of the website. So we consulted somebody that
Yeah, pretty much.
was that we were referred to, and he built us a really great website.
Okay. And were you able to install that website at that street address, the domain name?
No, we were not,
Why not?
because we did not have ownership of the domain name.
Because he's a petulant little child, is what my client will eventually say at some point, or one of my clients will say. Essentially for spite. That's why. He's mad that they forced him to sell the company. And by forced, I mean they said, we'll buy the company from you or else we're leaving. And that was it.
What do you mean by you did not have ownership of the domain name?
I want to be careful when I say that. So what I reached out to Darren, I believe it was October of 2021, to get the background information on the hosting site to be able to make our new website go live. He then informed me that he is the owner of our web domain, and then this is kind of how this all started. So
Okay.
we were not able to, because it had to go to court in the litigation and all of that.
Okay. Do you need a particular piece of information in order to update the website?
I told you. People do.
For,
I can't really comment on that. They gave me permission to talk about and stream this trial.
to update the website, no, but to change it completely, yes.
Okay. So, you had access to GoDaddy still, correct?
I looked at the site as it is today. I take it he still owns it. If that's improved, I'd hate to see it. Yeah, so they have a whole new website built out, but they can't launch it until we get a resolution on this case. And while this trial was in May, the judge has yet to issue an opinion. So it is essentially sitting there as it was when this guy first organized the website back in January of 2020.
You had the login credentials?
We had the credentials, yes, that were given to us. We
Sure.
never, I mean, we had them in our book.
But you weren't able to use those credentials to change the website.
We did, to protect the integrity of our website, we did have our tech guy go in and change.
My legs are doing all those poses, and my hands are going constantly underneath the camera. You just can't see it. That's all.
The admin rights to the website, to Epic rather than Darren.
Okay. So you were able to do that through GoDaddy?
That's correct.
All right. And when did you do that?
I believe it was, gosh, it's hard to say what, I'm gonna say November of 2021, I believe.
Okay. So you went in to change the admin rights to the domain name, right?
That's correct.
And so that would enable you to update the website?
That's correct.
Okay. And then what, if anything, happened after that?
I don't know what you mean by that.
I'm gonna say,
Okay,
what if
so
anything? I
you
use that
still
a
have
lot
the
more than I
admin
thought I
rights.
did.
Yeah.
We do, well, I mean, we do have the admin rights, but we can't install it.
I know. Look at all the
Did
people in
Darren
the
transfer
audience,
it
right?
back to
He
him?
did,
Okay.
yes, he did.
All right, that's what I was trying to get at. So you access, let me step back a bit. In an attempt to update the website, or not update, but redo completely the website, you needed the admin rights, correct?
I know, right? We should all have
We
long,
needed the
beautiful
DNS
wigs.
number, the number in the background. That is
I would love
correct.
that.
Okay, that's the number I was asking about, the DNS number.
Yes,
Okay, so you needed that.
yes.
How do you get that if you know?
You have to get it directly from the GoDaddy domain site.
Okay. And was GoDaddy providing you or your IT guy with that information? Initially?
Initially, no.
Okay. So was it at that point then you reached out to Darren?
It was at that point. That was in October
Okay. And that's October of 2021?
2021.
And what did you reach out to him and ask for?
We had inquired about the ownership of the domain name. It was Heather and I's understanding that we own the domain name, so basically, can we have this put in our name? It hasn't been put in our name yet, full rights for us to be in control of it, so basically, can we get the ball rolling on that?
Okay. And so, it's your understanding, let's say similar to a bank account, right? You went into the bank and transferred the signature names?
Yes,
Was your understanding that it was similar to that it was something that he needed to sign off
yes,
on?
absolutely.
Okay. So, is that what you asked him for?
In a nutshell, yes.
Okay. What was his response?
That he was the owner of the website and that he had to make a plan that he was not going to hand it over and that he had to come up with a plan on how to move forward with that.
Did he give you any more specifics?
Other than him keeping control of it, no.
Okay. So, at some point though, you were able to transfer over admin control.
We were, yes.
And after you transferred over admin control, what happened?
We were able to, I believe Darren was the one that sent that email to the hosting company Title Tap, stating that Heather and I can make changes needed to the website. After that, he shut our website down in June.
Indigo, thank you very much for the gifted membership. And what is it? Psycho, however you pronounce your name, got the gifted membership. But thank you very much. I didn't catch that earlier. Just wanted to grab it now. But very cool. If you are a new member, check out the membership tab on YouTube here. It'll take you to a link to our Discord where we have all the membership content, including a new game we're going to start next Sunday, which is Hunt a Killer. It's a interactive, physically interactive kind of crime or murder solving case, murder mystery kind of thing. It's a lot of fun though.
We didn't have control over it.
I'm back in October,
Oh.
November of 2021.
Okay.
October, November 2021. Was your website shut down?
It was for a period of time.
Okay, do you know why?
I believe it's because our tech team transferred the name over to, I'm not sure what name it was changed to, I think it was Epic Title Services. And it caused it to go offline when that DNS number was, or the name of it was changed, transferred.
Okay.
Yes, Jamie did hand out memberships.
Are you able to access
Cut
got
that
one.
earlier.
the domain name now in a sufficient way that you can update your website?
For the current company that is hosting, yes.
Who's the current company?
Title Tap.
Okay. When did that happen?
That happened shortly after we were back up and running. So the end of 2021.
Okay. The initial shutdown in October of 2021. You said that was because your tech company transferred it to Epic Title?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, it's your understanding still in October of
Zachariah.
2021 that Darren claimed ownership of the domain name? right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any further discussions regarding the acquisition of the domain name after October of 21, before, say, November of 21?
There were a few, and it was no emails, it was discussions. He had said, I believe he mentioned, like, you could buy it for me for $1 million, kind of a discussion. It was not a friendly conversation, but other than that, no.
He wants $1 million for the domain name, which
That's
was ridiculous. That was just condescending, is really what that was. And he's being, I don't know, according to my client, childish about it. What's taking the judge so long to issue the opinion? I don't know. I would have to imagine other cases. That's all. I don't know. I've asked the judge, or I've asked the judge's clerk, when we could expect something, and they say he's working on it. So I have no idea what's taking so long. We're going to go for about maybe another 12 minutes or so, and then I'm going to send you guys over to Baker. And yeah, what a jerk, exactly.
While you
and this,
got 5 more memberships.
oh,
Rabbit.
awesome, Rabbit. 5 gifted memberships to Sheila. Oh, let's see here. Sompo, whatever. John H. 2004, which I believe you've been before, but welcome back if you have been. Watchdog, T-Ree, you had to get gifted a membership? But welcome, everybody. Welcome back, and welcome all the new ones. Remember, there is a membership tab with a
I don't
link to
try
our
to help him
Discord.
with names, guys. I just let him go because it's my favorite thing about him.
Yeah, no, I do not pronounce names. Someone asked me the name of this defense counsel in this case. I have no idea because I don't do names.
Yeah.
Wendy H, thank you very much for the $9.99 super chat. Our favorite attorney at work. Yes. Yes. Well, first of all, hey, Wendy, and thank you again. I am glad I am your favorite attorney. I'm glad you guys get to see me work here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I don't do names.
It's my favorite.
So I'll tell you guys another time about this case that I was trying to pronounce the name of, and I was like called out in a conference with like 20 other attorneys for a legislative hearing because I pronounced the name horribly wrong because I didn't know what the pronunciation was. Because, anyways, let's see. I have watched over 1,000. There were criminal trials, but trials nonetheless. And I have watched many lawyers, including some famous ones. You're a very good attorney. Thank you very much.
Aww.
I appreciate that. I feel like I'm at home in the courtroom. I feel very comfortable in there, and I hope that kind of comes across. And Hopefully, I also do a good job for my clients. We'll find out. But I do enjoy it, and I'm glad I get to share it all with you, and you guys can criticize me and my styles and myself, because obviously when I was going through documents and just filler testimony, I feel like that's what makes you a good attorney, right? When you can roll with the case. I don't know.
Okay. At one point, did he send you an email that said, I own the domain
You
name?
could tell by the way I stand.
In essence, yes, he did.
Okay.
This
Did
is
you
my
respond to
home,
that
right?
email by saying, yes, I understand you own the domain name, or something along those lines?
I did.
Why did you respond that way?
Because given the nature of, I wanted to be kind and to have it.
That's really
amicable
what I wanted to
in
do
the
here,
beginning.
Gigi.
And so I didn't want to ruffle
Yeah.
any feathers with you.
Okay, but I kind of talked over what she's testifying to right now. I want to go back. She did send an email saying, yes, I understand that you own the domain name. She responded in an email to the defendant stating that. My client did, the one on the stand. And this is the biggest thing that the defendant has been using in this case, to say, look, even the plaintiff is admitting, or rather the plaintiff's representative is admitting that I own the domain name. And so that's what she was just responding to. And her response was, well, I was trying to keep it friendly. So that's what we're addressing here. She's like, I didn't want to just make him mad. Okay, fine. You own it. How much do you want for it? Right. And that's when he came back with $1 million.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
Were you prepared to pay some money for it if need be?
Absolutely.
Why would you be prepared to pay some money for it?
It would be a lot easier to have paid for it up front than to go through all of this.
And so saying that you owned, or acknowledging, or in the email saying that Darren owned the website, that was part of trying to negotiate a deal?
I didn't offer any monies to purchase the website, but yes, that was definitely a part to, that was my negotiation tactic. Yes.
You were hoping that it would resolve the dispute?
Yes.
Okay. And that he would give you a lowball number and you could purchase
Yes.
it? Is that when he came out with the $1 million?
That was kind of leading, right? This whole last couple of minutes has been extremely leading. No objection from the other side. I'm just going to roll with it, right?
Right?
Yeah, someone else called it. Yeah, Gigi called it leading. Yeah, it was very leading, but I'm going to keep going with it because it's the best way to ask questions, especially of your client, is to lead them right down, as long as the other side's not objecting.
Offer?
Right around that time, yes.
I have no idea
any
what's taking the
point-
judge so long.
During this entire transaction, from when you were first discussing it and made the offer to October of 2021, is there any doubt in your mind that Epic Title LLC, Epic Title Services LLC owned the domain name?
There was no doubt in my mind.
Was that ever discussed during negotiations?
No.
Did the website, its existence, the domain name, or anything like that ever come out of anyone's mouth at all during the negotiations?
Not to my knowledge, it did not.
And that's important based off of what the first witness testified to. And you guys can go back and watch part 1. But the fact that nobody talked about it is important. That means that it was assumed to be part of the company.
You said the website was again shut down in June,
That's correct, of 2022.
June of 2022. Do you recall being here for a hearing on that?
I do.
Do you remember how long it was shut down for?
7 or 8 days, could be 9 days.
I would object as to speculation, then, 7, 8, 9.
Can you, personal knowledge, without
I-
guessing, speculating, conjecturing, can you pinpoint it a little bit
I
better?
would say about a week, a full week.
We are
I believe
suing
I'm
for
on Exhibit
damages.
F.
My clients had the option of suing for damages, but what they really wanted was control of the domain name. So they didn't seek damages as a result of the control of the domain name. But during the case, he had shut the website down twice, and we brought damages for those.
That's
So part of this
ridiculous.
case is damages associated with him shutting the website down during the pendency of the case, as well as who actually owns the domain.
It's crazy.
Because there's microphones everywhere, Gigi. That's the real reason. There's microphones literally everywhere. So the second we turn a page, the microphone picks it up.
I believe so.
Handing you what's been marked as Exhibit F. Do you recognize this document?
I do.
What is this document?
This is our Google Analytics that we run for our business statistics.
What are Google Analytics?
I'm gonna place an objection to this, this exhibit, Your Honor. I think it takes expert testimony or somebody from Google to testify as to what the document is. If she didn't make it, he can ask if she made it, if it's her property or anything else, but I think it takes somebody from Google to explain what it is, not a layperson.
Okay, and you
All right, I'm actually going to pause it there because we go into quite a lengthy, essentially motion back and forth regarding the Google Analytics, and it's going to take about half hour. And since we're at 2.5 hours, which is about what I wanted to run for this stream, we're going to pick it up there. I think that's a good spot to break. But essentially, what it is, sort of previewing what's to come. My client had produced Google Analytics from the domain name that was tracked through Google to show how much loss in hits they got to the website as a result of it being shut down. And so that's what we're going into next. But what do you guys think so far? Jamie, what are your thoughts?
You did a good job. This is interesting. I just really like seeing how it all goes down.
And the whole idea behind this was, you know, we see, like, again, we see all these sensational high profile murder cases or even high profile civil cases like Johnny Depp and all that stuff. 99.9% of these cases are not like that. They're like this one. They're very simple. They're straightforward. They're bench trials. They're done in one day. They're not complicated with all kinds of shenanigans going on, although there's some by me. There's not a lot by everyone else. So that was the idea, is I wanted to present a normal case. If you out there listening, either now or on rewatch, are involved in a civil lawsuit, this is probably how your case is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to go like these other cases that we watch a lot of. White Rabbit, $4.99 super chat. Thank you. Quote Quart ASMR shuffling papers. Yeah. Everyone shuffles papers. And I was trying to open the thing the other day, but there's microphones everywhere. That's the one thing about Michigan courtrooms, is everything must be video and audio recorded and saved for 15 years. And so a number of years ago, they started putting in really good quality microphones in particular in every courtroom. And they're everywhere. They're in the ceilings. They're at every table. They're at every possible location that somebody could be speaking from, so that they all get picked up. And so, unfortunately, you also get the papers and everything. Yeah, you hear the court reporter typing away, and you hear the clickety clack, because the court reporter might talk once in a while, right? They might read back a question that was asked. So there's microphones everywhere. Was there a sales agreement? If so, nothing about the domain name in there. No. Well, yes, there was a sales agreement. This was a stock sale. And if you go back to watch part 1, it's really explained well with the first witness that I called. So the stock sale would be like buying GM stock, for example. You get that ownership portion of it, but GM itself stays the same, right? You could buy the controlling shares of GM, but GM stays the same. It doesn't, the legal entity of General Motors doesn't change. So with the purchase agreement, my clients gained a controlling share of Epic Title LLC, Epic Title Services, or whatever it is, LLC. There's a couple of Epic Title companies involved, but so they get the controlling shares of it. So everything that the entity owns is still owned by the entity. So there was no need to mention specific assets unless you were going to single those out for some reason. And again, my first witness on direct does a really good job of explaining why you would want to single out certain assets and why otherwise you would just assume whatever the company owns went through. Like, they don't mention the lease agreement. They don't mention the computers. They don't mention payroll. They don't mention a lot of things that go with the company. So the fact that they didn't mention the domain name is indicative of the fact that it was owned by the company and was going to be going with the company.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the issue there. And I will also add that the defendant never said anything about the domain name until all of a sudden my clients needed this certain login credential so they could update it. And that was 6 to 7 months, 8 months after the purchase. All of a sudden, he's like, oh, wait, no, I own this now. Even though he never shut it down, never did anything. He was just kind of being a dick. That's my opinion, though. Gigi, I'm glad you enjoyed. I thought that the defendant has a punchable face. Yeah, might be. David committing shenanigans. Weird. I know, right? Who would have thought?
I like the inside scoop. Like, I tried to organize all these.
Well, I forgot about it. I forgot that was part of this until I was asking her questions and I saw myself shuffling through the files. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me that I spent literally hours organizing these documents. I had them all spread out in the family room, in the Star Wars room. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put this here, and this is how I'm going to go with everything. And I had a whole plan of how I was going to call witnesses. And actually, if you watch the first part, you realize that I had to call my witnesses out of order. So when I had to call my witnesses out of order, then all of a sudden I had to start shuffling through the files and find the right documents. And there was one that I forgot to print. Actually, so the one I forgot to print, and then I had to show the witness my laptop of it. I think I ended up finding it in another file that had somewhere on the table there. So it was just a disaster of preparation, but not for the lack of preparation. I kind of like over prepped. It was just, and then I couldn't find anything. So that was fun. Is being a dick in the penal code? No, unfortunately, it's not illegal to be a dick or an asshole. So you are just left with having to deal with dicks and assholes.
Another 5 memberships from the White Rabbit.
Oh, awesome, White Rabbit. Let's see here. Thank you very much. So Unicorn 11, Slisha, MJ, Emily Gale, and Donna T all got gifted memberships. Welcome. Thank you very much, White Rabbit. Remember, if you are new, there is a membership tab on my YouTube page, which will take you to Discord. There's a Discord link under that membership tab. It'll take you to Discord where we have all of our membership activities. And then what we are starting next Sunday is this. This is Hunt a Killer. This is Royal Street. So what Hunt a Killer is, it's a interactive murder mystery kind of thing where you act as a PI. These are the list of items that you get in the first box. You get 6 boxes, 1 box per month, and you are supposed to act as the personal investigator or private investigator rather, to solve a crime. This particular one that we're going to do takes place in New Orleans. So you get things like, here's a newspaper clipping. Mm-hmm. And, here's another, well, that was actually kind of a brochure, but here's another newspaper clipping. And all of this stuff may or may not be relevant. You don't know what's relevant. This is not like a paint by numbers game. You have to go through all of this stuff and try to figure out what exactly is a clue and what isn't a clue. So there's handwritten notes on different things. There might be something involved in this particular book that's going to give you a clue to solve this. We have beads, and each bead has looks like it's an advertisement for something. These may or may not be relevant. There's a lot of red herrings. So we have to sift through this stuff and figure out who actually murdered. I can't remember the name of the lady. But once you get into Discord, you can there's a channel dedicated to Hunt a Killer, and then you can go check out sort of the directions, the idea behind this, and then the introductory letter that kind of explains who's been killed and what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to solve it is already in Discord. So it kind of gives you guys a heads up on it. So we're going to start that. That's going to be a lot of fun. My wife and I started doing this a couple years ago, and it's been a great time. Let's see.
So is that the box you got when you and your wife were doing it? Like you got?
No, this is a new one. I haven't opened this one. Yeah, so I have 3 complete sets, and then there's a 4th one that's still coming. So I did the 3rd complete set that I've gotten. I haven't even opened them yet because we're still working on the 2nd murder. And I think technically still the 1st one. We haven't actually solved the 1st one, although we're kind of there. My parents may or may not have spoiled the 1st one for us. So we're like, okay, well, we're done with that one, and then we moved on to the 2nd one. But so this is the 3rd murder that we're trying to solve, and I haven't looked at it at all. I just literally opened it and to start doing it with you guys. So I know nothing about it. So I can't guide you. You guys can't ask me questions. I literally don't know. So this is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm gonna start giving out beads too, ladies. So we're gonna do this on
Oh,
Discord,
yeah.
by the way, so we can all converse. We're gonna do a watch party so we can all talk to each other. And if you're so inclined to earn some beads, some might be coming your way. Jamie, just saying.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Let's see. Oh my, you just scored golden brownie points, Hunter Color Rocks. Oh, so you've done Hunter. I like it. I like it a lot. I learned about it through Mike from that chapter. He advertised for them, and I'm not sponsored at all by them, but I learned about it through them, and we thought, oh, that's kind of fun. We should try that. And it's been a lot of it's been fun to do. So Star Wars room. Yes, I have a Star Wars room. You'll have to
Yes,
you have to go to Flux's channel. You can see my Star Wars room. Trying to think of, or the Experts channel. I think I've only shown it on other people's channels, right? Haven't I?
I feel like, yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
you always show up and you're in it.
Yeah. I show up on other people's streams and I'm
Yeah.
in my Star Wars room. So can I just earn beads the old-fashioned way? You can twist it, I suppose. I don't know if you're capable of earning beads though.
Yeah, to get beads, is that a thing? Because that's not fair.
What's that?
I said, do they give guys beads? I mean, I just always thought it was a lady thing.
When I was last down in New Orleans, I earned beads, but I didn't have to do anything for it.
Oh,
I didn't. No. This woman came up to me and she was like, "You deserve beads." I'm not gonna say why because everyone's gonna think I have a big head. But and decided just to start giving me beads. So I earned 3 sets of beads though when I was down in New Orleans. My wife earned none. So
good for her.
Sean wants to flash us. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what it is. So, anyways, I'm going to end this now. You guys are going to head over to the Broken Baker, who is, I'll redirect you over there. If you're not subscribed to the Broken Baker, he deserves a subscribe because he is, he's awesome. He's Danish, unfortunately, but he's covering a lot of good trials. And you guys are going to pick up with the Thomas Randolph trial, day 4, which is an interesting case. This is isn't he called like the Black Widower, right?
Yeah.
He just has he has 6 of his wives, and 4 of them are dead.
4 of them are dead. 1 in a weird circumstance. 2 actually by like 1 had cancer and 1 was in the hospital, and then this one was shot also. So
Yes.
yeah.
Fun times. Yes, Jenny B. Guys can earn them too. They just need a place to hang them. That's all. Yeah, no, the Broken Baker is awesome. So you guys, if you're not already subscribed, we're going over there a little early, maybe 15 minutes early. So just hit the notification and sub to them if you want. And then I'll see you over there because I will be in chat while I'm doing everything. Jamie, are you joining Baker?
I am. And I think Mo maybe.
Okay.
For the morning. Yep.
All right. Well, and then I'll be on the Expert later, and then I got to coordinate with Chandler, but we're going to do a Boone stream either tonight or tomorrow. But I will be on the Expert later, I believe. I think that's confirmed. It might. No, I'm pretty sure I'll be on the Expert later. And then I'm going to post up another link for part 3 of this, which we'll do tomorrow morning as well. So we're going to keep this going. So until then, I will see you all. Bye.
Bye.